starting as the hand behind the scenes in Naruto. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101. Pharmacist Kabuto is not a good person. Boom. The entire ruins were set off by a loud explosion. Orochimaru and Kabuto Yakushi stood in the distance and looked at the center of the explosion with a smile on their lips. Using the chain summoning of the detonating talisman, we can summon 10,000 detonating talismans in an instant, which is enough to directly kill any enemy. When Orochimaru was learning the technique of impure world reincarnation, he naturally did not give up studying the technique of multiplying detonating talismans used in combination with the technique of impure world reincarnation. For a ninjutsu genius like Orochimaru, the difficulty of learning the multiplying detonating talisman is not high. The only trouble is that the price of summoned detonating talismans is a bit expensive, and for Orochimaru, fighting a fight costs tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. This fight is too wasteful. Except when he was learning the multiplying detonating talisman, Orochimaru deliberately kept 10,000 detonating talismans. At other times, he never thought of using the technique of multiplying detonating talismans. After all, the most important summoning condition of the multiplying detonating talisman is to stick the first detonating talisman on the enemy's body to trigger the summoning. If an enemy can be attached with a detonating tag, then this enemy is too weak to waste the detonating tag. If an enemy is very powerful, then he will definitely not be ambushed by the detonating tag. This is a false proposition in Orochimaru's research. Therefore, Orochimaru is not very fond of the ninjutsu of multiplying detonating tags, which is both a waste of money and not very effective. However, for Orochimaru, using the detonating tag to kill Konan's apprentice has special significance. Orochimaru does not mind giving this in turn a funeral. By the way, when Konan finds Uehara Naraku's body, let her recognize the true use of the detonating tag and recognize the gap between her and the strong. Orochimaru looked at the explosion fog, and he did not choose to check Uehara Naraku's body. He just said, "Okay, Kabuto, let's go." "Yes, Lord Orochimaru." Before leaving, Kabuto Yakushi took another look at the explosion smoke, and a trace of awe flashed in his eyes. It is worthy of Lord Orochimaru's ninjutsu. Even the detonating tag can exert such a strong power. This is not invented by me. Orochimaru stopped, smiled and shook his head, saying, "This was developed by the second Hokage of Konoha." When Orochimaru mentioned the second Hokage, there was a rare admiration on his face. Uehara's voice suddenly came from the huge smoke of the explosion. Then Senior Orochimaru must have method to practice the multiplication detonating tag. "I do have it, but the shortcomings of this technique are too." After Orochimaru answered subconsciously, he heard that the voice was a little wrong, and he turned his head suddenly to look into the smoke. Uehara Naraku was walking out step by step from it. Uehara brushed off the dust on himself and said calmly, "Since Senior Orochimaru has what I want, I can't let you go easily." He said it as if he was talking about daily life. It seemed that Uehara Naraku was a little arrogant. TSK. Orochimaru couldn't help curling his lips and said coldly, "The mutual detonation talisman technique didn't kill you. It seems that even a forbidden technique developed by a genius like the second Hokage has flaws." No. His technique has no flaws. Uehara Naraku waved his hands quickly and explained, "I believe that both myself and my teacher should like this technique very much. I think it should be Senior Orochimaru himself who has flaws, right? How dare you speak rudely to Lord Orochimaru?" Kabuto Yakushi pushed his glasses and suddenly put down his hands. A light green light suddenly flashed on Kabuto Yakushi's palms, and he added the blessing technique of the chakra scalpel to himself. After the words fell, Kabuto Yakushi rushed towards Uehara Naraku first, and his palm with light green chakra was about to cut Uehara's neck. This is the way medical ninjas fight. Chakra scalpels can not only be used for treatment, but also for fighting. They are sharper than kunai. However, there are very few medical ninjas who really use chakra scalpels in battle. Only almighty ninjas like Kabuto Yakushi will be ingenious. After all, the duty of medical ninjas is to save people. Kabuto Yakashi's duty is to be an all-round spy. Duskblade. Uehara Naraku calmly stretched out his palm, and a purple chakra broadsword fell into his hand. Then he slashed at the oncoming Kabuto Yakashi with a knife. Snap. Kabuto Yakashi stepped on the ground and jumped into the air. The next moment he appeared behind Uehara, and the chakra scalpels in both hands were about to cut into Uehara's body. Uehara Naraku just turned around to use the force, and the broadsword cut across and knocked Kabuto Yakashi away. Uehara pointed at Kabuto Yakashi and ejected cards one after another, cutting Kabuto's body into pieces. Two cards even exploded and hit Kabuto Yakashi head on. Kabuto Yakashi rolled to the ground. Orochimaru didn't seem to be worried about his subordinates. Kabuto Yakashi slowly took off his clothes. His injuries were recovering rapidly. He didn't even look seriously injured. Kabuto Yakashi glanced at the other wounds on his body and said in a deep voice, "Master Orochimaru, please be careful. Almost my whole body is within his attack range. This kid is stronger than any boy I have ever seen. Even if I use Yinshan Yumi in advance, some attacks are still too late to guard against. Yinshan Yumi predicts the enemy's attack position and heals the parts that may be injured in advance, thereby minimizing one's injuries. It's just that Uehara's attack was too comprehensive. Of course." Orochimaru licked his lips and said solemnly, "No member of Akatsuki is a simple character. Even an intern cannot be underestimated." Uehara Naraku glanced at Kabuto Yakashi and waved at him friendly. "Mr. Kabuto, come here. Don't worry, I will only kill you at most." Kabuto Yakashi was not feeling well. Is this little guy still talking like a human being? Of course, if you are willing to surrender now, I will not kill you. Uehara Naraku held his chakra broadsword and said softly, "Killing you now would be a waste of talent, and what our Akatsuki organization has always valued most is talent." "Really?" A light flashed across Kabuto Yakashi's glasses, and he stood up and walked towards Uehara Naraku step by step. "What can I get if I surrender to you?" Uehara Naraku looked at him and said, "You can survive. This price seems not bad." Kabuto Yakashi nodded in agreement, walked to Uehara Naraku's side, turned his head, and looked at Orochimaru. "I'm sorry, Lord Orochimaru, I must." However, while Uehara Naraku was not paying attention, Kabuto Yakashi quietly took out a small scalpel in his hand and stabbed him in the back of the neck. Bang! Uehara Naraku suddenly leaned down and hit Kabuto Yakashi in the chest with an elbow, causing the spy genius to cough up blood. Naraku Uehara ignored Kabuto's screams, turned around and grabbed Kabuto's wrist, took the scalpel from his hand, and thrust it into his shoulder. Under the power of Naraku Uehara, Kabuto could not help but kneel on the ground, staring at Uehara with wide eyes and indifference. "Do you think I'm a fool?" Naraku Uehara kicked Kabuto to the ground, snorted coldly and said, "I knew long ago that the guy who followed a traitor like Orochimaru is not a good person. Thanks to GD Crossbow for the reward. A new week, a new recommendation ticket. Warm up, get ready for a big update on Friday." Chapter 102. Is using a white phosphorus snake disrespectful to others? One sentence can scold two people. Nagato will definitely be very pleased that Uehara has really grown up. However, Orochimaru, who was scolded, did not care, but clapped his hands. Decisive and decisive, worthy of being Conan's disciple. "I haven't killed him yet." Uehara Naraku glared at Orochimaru unhappily and said in a cold voice, "Why, do you want to use the training scroll of the multiplication detonating talisman to redeem your most loyal subordinate? His value is not that high." Orochimaru shook his head and rejected Uehara Naraku's proposal. Uehara Naraku shook his head and sighed. "In fact, I think this guy's value is higher than that of Orochimaru Sr. In the entire ninja world, ninjas are divided into many types. Among them, there are two people who can be said to have climbed up from the bottom. They have neither those powerful bloodlines passed down from their families nor superb ninja talents. They can only rely on themselves. The first one is called my guy, a hard worker who can do a 1-for-1 exchange. The other one is Kabuto Yakashi, who relied on his IQ to climb to the top of the ninja step by step. The stories of these two people are very inspiring. Sometimes I envy you for your hard work and struggle." Uehara Naraku leaned down and grabbed Kabuto Yakashi's hair, shook his head with emotion and said, "It's a pity that my talent is too poor. I can only make a living by becoming a cheater. Kabuto Yakushi. Although he didn't understand what Uehara Naraku meant, Kabuto Yakushi could clearly feel the regret and pride in Uehara Naraku's words. Regret is understandable. But what does it mean to be a little proud? Forget it. Some things can only be obtained in the future. Now I'll collect a little interest from you, which is better than nothing. Uehara Naraku shook his head to himself, punched Kabuto Yakushi in the face, and looked at Kabuto Yakushi and fainted. After all, there is still a series of side quests that need to be answered from Kabuto Yakushi, especially the practice method of the 3 holy places of the Sage Mode. However, there is a mission completed. Side quest, see through the spy identity of Kabuto Yakushi, 1/1, the mission has been completed, and the reward is 300 gold coins. Side quest, defeat the medical ninja Kabuto Yakushi, 1/1, the mission has been completed, and the reward is the skill cell division. Cell division, after death, the body will directly split into 4 cells. After 8 seconds, these split cells will start to aggregate again to revive the body. Each surviving cell will revive 10% of the life energy and chakra energy. The cooling time is 150 seconds, and the chakra consumption is 0. Uehara Naraku was surprised and happy. He had never thought that he could get a rebirth skill, although this cell division might allow the enemy to kill 4 Uehara Naraku in one blow. The possibility of using this skill should be very small, right? Okay, we've had our appetizers. Uehara Naraku kicked the tool man, Kabuto Yakushi, aside, twisted his shoulders, and turned to look at Orochimaru. Now we can have our main course. I've always underestimated you, Uehara-kun. Orochimaru's eyes gradually became serious, and his fingers gradually closed. The next second, he instantly threw a shuriken at Uehara Naraku. Orochimaru's palms quickly closed and formed a seal, and he shouted coldly, "Ninjutsu, Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique." The shuriken flying in the air quickly split into a group of shurikens. Orochimaru did not stop at all, but continued to close his hands and form a seal, and suddenly spurted out a group of flames, fire style, Phoenix Fire Technique. Each group of flames quickly attached to the shuriken, and flew towards Uehara Naraku. Even if the flames are extinguished, the shuriken can still cause a cutting effect. Isn't this such a heritage in Pachin's Clawred? Uehara Naraku opened his eyes wide, and looked at the flying shuriken flames, and quickly began to form seals to release ninjutsu, wind style, wind barrier. A wind wall blew up, and blocked the shuriken flames. Orochimaru only regarded this combination of ninjutsu as a feint, and the real killer move was still below. There was a coldness in his eyes. Ninjutsu, Tojinroka. 2 pythons suddenly flew out from the ground on both sides of Uehara. Uehara Naraku summoned the purple chakra broadsword, swung it and cut off the 2 pythons, with a somewhat unhappy look on his face. "Senior Orochimaru, don't play with snakes in front of me. This will reduce my good impression of you." "Kid, don't say that nonsense." Orochimaru snorted coldly, and started shouting and killing when he saw him, as if Uehara Naraku had a good impression of him. Orochimaru leaned forward, and lay on the ground, opening his mouth, and spewing out countless long snakes. Ninjutsu 10,000 snakes formation. A group of long snakes rushed towards Uehara Naraku. Just looking at their number, Uehara felt his scalp tingling. Ordinary people would subconsciously not want to touch a snake when they saw it, but now there were thousands of snakes hissing towards him. In the middle of the way, each snake spit out a sharp sword from its mouth, which made them look a lot more pleasing to the eye. Lightning released 10,000 thunder prison induction. Uehara Naraku raised his right hand, and a group of wind and cloud storms quickly gathered, and lightning struck down quickly. In a few seconds, these long snakes became charcoal. Orochimaru didn't care that his ninjutsu was cracked by Uehara Naraku. He just looked at Uehara Naraku with some doubts. Is that a sealless ninjutsu? This is really amazing. There are very few sealless ninjutsu in the ninja world. Like the powerful lightning release ninjutsu just now, at least a dozen hand seals must be formed. Oh, did you forget to make a hand seal just now? Uehara Naraku frowned, put his palms together, and continued in a deep voice. "Now I will make a beautiful hand seal for you to see. Do you think I'm an idiot?" After Orochimaru cursed, his neck suddenly stretched out, and he whispered, "But now you have a different value to me." A slender neck flew over with Orochimaru's head. According to the chakra theory of the ninja world, the more chakra a ninja can use, the less hand seals they can use when using ninjutsu. Except for some bloodline ninjas. A trace of madness flashed in Orochimaru's flying head, and 4 of his teeth gradually became sharp. Before I get the body I want, I'll treat you as a backup. If you can survive. Illusion Naraku's vision technique. Uehara Naraku's eyes suddenly fell into confusion. However, the next second, purification released the control of the illusion, and Uehara Naraku flew and kicked Orochimaru. Bang! Uehara kicked Orochimaru in the neck. The soft neck presented an incredible angle, as if it was a slingshot, that took Orochimaru's head and body away at the same time. Uehara Naraku's face was not very good. Looking at Orochimaru, who had retracted his neck again, he said coldly, "Don't get close to me, dirty." Hehe. Orochimaru smiled and twisted his neck. His body stretched rapidly. His head gradually became a little hideous. Small white snakes began to float on his body, and the whole person slowly turned into a white phosphorus snake. Orochimaru's voice was a little rough, and he spit out a long snake core. "Don't worry, Kit, we will merge into one in a while." "Shut up, go Duskblade." Uehara Naraku threw the purple broadsword in his hand. The chakra broadsword drew an arc in the air, and while Orochimaru was still talking, it suddenly pierced into his neck, nailing the white phosphorus snake to the ground. Uehara Naraku flew up and stepped on Orochimaru's body and said coldly, "Senior Orochimaru, if you still use ninjutsu, maybe I will still feel troubled. But who are you looking down on by using the white phosphorus snake? This snake can't even deal with Sasuke. It's obviously an insult to his strength. Thank you for the reward from Von Sklovsky, old friend. Thank you for the reward from carcinogenic salty fish." Chapter 103 Hero appears. The white phosphorus snake seemed to be motionless. Uehara Naraku frowned, looking a little unhappy. He kicked the white phosphorus snake's head with his foot. Is it going to die just like that? The next second, Uehara Naraku's face suddenly changed. He suddenly pulled out the purple chakra broadsword, and the white phosphorus snake was just an empty shell. What a joke. Orochimaru turned into a white phosphorus snake directly, leaving such an empty shell. Was it to escape? Suddenly, a hand stretched out from the ground and tightly grabbed Uehara Naraku's ankle. "I got you, Kit." Earth escape heart beheading technique. Too insidious. Uehara Naraku was caught off guard and was pulled underground by such a seal level ninjutsu, leaving only his head on the ground. Damn, there is such a thing. He was actually hit by the heart beheading technique. Uehara Naraku almost spit out a mouthful of blood. He had just seen the insidious genius ninja like Uchiha Itachi some time ago, so why did he forget it when fighting with Orochimaru? This guy's much more sinister than Uchiha Itachi. "I can't bear to kill you, brat." Orochimaru just chuckled, licked his lips, and suddenly turned into countless little white snakes, swarming towards Uehara Naraku on the ground. Orochimaru wanted to absorb Uehara Naraku. The next second, the white snakes swarmed around him, and Uehara Naraku on the ground disappeared. The group of white snakes could only gather again and turn into the appearance of Orochimaru. Orochimaru's palm quickly slapped the ground, sensing the chakra in the soil, and his brows could not help but frown. What's going on? Can't sense the chakra of that brat? A purple light suddenly reflected in Orochimaru's eyes. A purple chakra broadsword suddenly jumped out from the ground and slashed towards Orochimaru's neck. After he narrowly avoided it, it also cut a thick wound on his chest, and blood almost gushed out. Uehara Naraku also put a detonating tag on Orochimaru's wound. At first glance, it looked like a large band-aid. Boom. Uehara Naraku reappeared in front of Orochimaru and evened up the explosion of the detonating tag. Boom. The detonating tag exploded instantly. Orochimaru was blown away, blood and flesh flying everywhere. However, after the detonation of the detonating tag, 10 detonating tags were summoned. When Orochimaru saw the 10 exploding talismans, he opened his eyes wide in disbelief, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. Is this the technique of multiplying exploding talismans? I don't know what the technique of multiplying exploding talismans is, but this is my own little trick for playing exploding talismans. Uehara Naraku spread his palms, looking very generous. Senior Orochimaru just gave me 10,000 exploding talismans. We Akatsuki people never owe favors to others. Now I will give you 10 times more, and we are even. 10 exploding talismans summoned another 100 exploding talismans. In a flash, this area summoned 100,000 exploding talismans, tightly attached to Orochimaru. Orochimaru sighed helplessly. I thought I overestimated you enough, but I didn't expect. At this moment, even the Orochi-style substitution technique couldn't protect him. Then there was only the last technique that would definitely prevent him from dying. Yakuto no Jutsu. Orochimaru's body swelled up instantly, turning into a Yamato no Orochi that was tens of meters tall. The 8 huge heads kept shaking, and they hissed back and forth on one body. This is Orochimaru's ultimate forbidden technique. The power of the Yamato no Jutsu is enough to rival the tailed beasts. As long as there is one head, he will not die. This is the confidence that Orochimaru wants to fight against the mutual multiplication detonation talisman technique. At this moment, Orochimaru is the Yamato no Orochi. After the explosion of the detonation talisman, the heads of the Yamato no Orochi fell to the ground one by one, and Orochimaru's body spit out of one of the heads. But now Orochimaru seems a little weak. This life-saving ninjutsu consumed a lot of his chakra and physical strength. Uehara Naraku said with great interest, I thought that senior Orochimaru would use such a powerful spell to attack me. Humph. Orochimaru just gritted his teeth and didn't answer. He put his palms together and began to summon the seal, ninjutsu, summoning technique. He couldn't use the 8-headed technique skillfully at the moment, which could easily lead to his body being out of control and internal collapse. Instead of forcibly using the 8-headed technique, it would be better to summon another big guy. Come out. 10,000 snakes. Orochimaru stared at Uehara Naraku coldly, slapped his palm on the ground, and a huge summoning seal appeared on the ground. A huge monster jumped out of the summoning seal. The huge 10,000 snakes spit out the snake core and scanned the battlefield. There was a hint of ferocity and cruelty in its eyes. Orochimaru, is there something wrong with summoning me? If you can't satisfy me, I will kill you now. Among the 3 ninjas of Konoha and their summoned beasts, only Orochimaru and his summoned beast 10,000 snakes have a very bad relationship. This is also related to the nature of snakes. They don't have any loyalty to begin with. Ha 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 ha. Before Orochimaru could say anything, Uehara Naraku burst into laughter. Senior Orochimaru, it looks like your summoning beast isn't very obedient. Ha. Manzoku lowered his head slightly and saw the tiny Uehara Naraku. He swallowed his own snake core and said, little brat, who are you? How dare you say such things in front of me? Uehara Naraku slowly flew into the air, staring at Manzoku's disdainful eyes. His palms slowly began to join hands and seal. Who do you think you are? Is this little brat going to summon Pain again? Orochimaru's face looked a little ugly. He hurriedly sat on top of Manzoku and began to recover his chakra, preparing for battle in his best posture. Uehara Naraku raised his head and looked at Orochimaru, who was standing on the head of Manzan, recovering his chakra. He raised his lips and said, don't worry, Orochimaru-senpai. Since you want to choose a summon beast duel, as an intern, I will naturally fulfill your wish. Orochimaru frowned and murmured in a low voice, is it the shark that can deal with souls again? Manzan should be able to deal with that shark. Ninjutsu, summoning technique. Uehara Naraku completed his summoning seal. A ray of light appeared from his hand and shot into the air brilliantly. Uehara Naraku was a little amused. How come this guy has his own animation effect when he appears? Just when Orochimaru was a little surprised, he suddenly saw an unimaginable spell appearing on the ground. The range of this spell is enough for several kilometers. So what kind of monster does this little brat Uehara Naraku want to summon? Is there really such a big summon beast in the world? Hero, appear. A dull voice resounded in everyone's ears like a thunderclap. A tall figure flew over like a falling meteor. It didn't look particularly tall, but it made people feel full of power. When it landed heavily at the center of the spell of several kilometers shattered in an instant. No, it was not the spell that was shattered, but the entire earth. On the land of several kilometers, whether it was the trees in the mountains and forests or the boulders and beasts, they were all thrown into the air by the force of this tall humanoid creature hitting the ground. The broken earth turned into countless pieces of soil and was also shaken away. Wanch was not spared from being shaken away, and even before it could make any moves, its body was out of control. Wanch's eyes showed a trace of fear, and he shouted in panic, Orochimaru, what on earth is that guy? What kind of monster did you provoke? I don't know. Orochimaru shook his head solemnly, but when he saw that Kabuto Yakashi's body was also shaken away, he still stretched out his arm and saved Kabuto Yakashi. Fortunately, at this time, Kabuto Yakashi had been awakened by the vibration, but his expression was filled with fear and panic. Ahem. Lord Orochimaru, what's going on? Orochimaru did not answer, but just watched Uehara Naraku's body fly towards the tall figure that appeared on the ground, and said in a deep voice, "What on earth is that kid summoned beast?" The dust from the ground vibration gradually dissipated. Uehara Naraku's summoned beast also revealed its true face. Uehara Naraku stood on the head of the summoned beast he summoned. His smile was somewhat brilliant, and he shouted in the direction of Orochimaru and the others in the Manjusri, "Let me introduce it to everyone. Its name is Galio. Thank you for the reward from Dinmingayu too. Please recommend." Chapter 104 The strongest summoning beast in history. Galio, the Colossus of Justice. This was the first time that Uehara summoned this summoned beast. It was because Galio's summoning consumed too much chakra, and even now it took nearly half of the chakra. It was not until now that Uehara was able to recover chakra freely that he chose to summon Galio, the Colossus of Justice, in this battle against the snakes. However, when Uehara summoned it, he found that he summoned it too late. Galio is such a handsome creature. It is difficult to describe how powerful Galio was when he appeared on the stage with any adjective. The sense of security that moment brought people even made Uehara feel that this was what a summoned beast should look like, and this should be the Colossus that changed the situation of the battle by himself. Forget about the deep sea titan. Galio is all he needs to protect his safety. When Uehara Naraku stood on it, Galio's body slowly stood up, and the flowing copper wings behind him slowly opened, as if he could protect everything under his wings. Orochimaru frowned and stared at the giant stone statue. It looks a bit like something that the guys in the Hidden Rock village created with Earth Escape. Then there's nothing to be afraid of. The snakes surged their bodies and rushed towards the tall stone statue, saying contemptuously, "Orochimaru, after you get rid of this guy, remember to prepare 100 living people for me. Be careful." Orochimaru hurriedly interrupted the snakes and looked nervously at the tall giant statue that suddenly rushed towards them, much faster than the snakes. Bang! The snake's body flew up instantly. No, it was the stone statue that knocked its body away. Orochimaru pulled Kabuto Yakashi's body and took him down from the snake's body. His eyes were faintly frightened. The summoning beast of that kid Uehara is so powerful. This stone statue is beyond any summoning beast that Orochimaru knows. It is even more powerful than the tailed beast. The battle was not over yet. While the snakes were in the air with nowhere to gain leverage, Galio's wings suddenly blew out 2 gusts of wind. The 2 gusts swept through everything around them, leaving only a vast expanse of space before converging together. The wind suddenly increased in strength and became a swirling gale. But the gale stopped moving forward, tearing the snakes' bodies. A hint of blood gradually appeared in the wind. It was the scales on the snakes' bodies that were torn out by the gale, and the blood flowing out of the wounds was constantly blown upward by the wind. "Arsehole!" The snakes screamed in pain and crawled out of the gale, opening their mouths to bite Galio's head. The snake's attacks were not limited to this. Its tail suddenly stretched out and wrapped around Galio's body. The huge stone statue stretched out its arms to grab the snake's body, slowly raised its head to reveal its dark eyes, and stared at the snake's heads. Those dark eyes made it impossible to detect its thoughts. But this unknown, out of thin air, gave rise to a touch of fear in people's hearts. The body of the snake trembled for a moment, and it began to squeeze Galio's stone body without showing any weakness, shouting, "Arsehole, I will turn you into a pile of rubble again." Crack. Galio swung his fist violently, with a little white light on his fist, and punched the snake 7 inches. The next second countless cracks appeared on the snake's body. This psychic giant snake, which had left many evil names in the Ninja World War, was instantly beaten into countless pieces of meat, and turned into a mountain of corpses and blood rain falling on the ground. The fishy smell was pervasive, and people couldn't help but cover their noses. Whether it was Orochimaru or Uehara Naraku, their faces changed color, and they were greatly surprised by the strength shown by Galio. One punch broke the snake, and it looked like an ordinary punch. Wansh's death was a bit hasty. Uehara Naraku's face gradually became weird, and he couldn't help but look down at the summoned beast under his feet. This guy's power, can't it be One Punch Galio? The huge stone statue slowly retracted its fist, and a dull voice sounded, "Sorry, I just woke up. Am I fighting?" Uehara Naraku's face froze. It's over. What kind of a summon beast is this? Can it fight while sleeping? It's just that this Galio can still communicate, which is really the best. Uehara Naraku pointed in the direction of Orochimaru, and saw that the flowing copper wings behind Galio fluttered slightly, and it slowly flew up, and landed in front of Orochimaru. Galio lowered his head, and looked down at Orochimaru, and Kabuto Yakushi pointed at Orochimaru with his finger, and said in a muffled voice, "Can I hit him? Just once?" "No." Uehara Naraku flew from it, and landed in front of Orochimaru, but seeing Orochimaru's gloomy eyes made people feel a little cold in their hearts. Uehara turned around, and added to Galio, "If he doesn't agree to my request later, you will beat him to death. Understand?" "Understood." Galio nodded. Uehara Naraku also nodded, and touched his chin thoughtfully. It seems that Galio should be quite honest. Bang! Before Uehara finished speaking, Galio punched down. The huge fist was shining white, and it hit the side of Orochimaru, and the ground suddenly cracked. Galio looked down at Orochimaru, stretched out his huge finger, and pointed at Uehara Naraku. "You will agree to his request, right? Otherwise, I will beat you to death now." Orochimaru. Seeing Orochimaru fall into silence, Galio clenched his palm again, and he whispered, "You see, he didn't agree to you. I'm in a hurry. Let me beat him to death now. I'll just hit him." "Shut up." Uehara Naraku was in a bad mood. Why does he think that honest and simple characters are not very honest? Orochimaru gritted his teeth and said gloomily, "Uehara Naraku, what do you want? Ninjutsu, forbidden techniques." Uehara Naraku turned his head to look at Orochimaru, and stretched out his palm to him. "I don't mind your poor techniques, just hand them all over." Orochimaru's expression suddenly became a little subtle, and he said coldly, "Ninjutsu is the essence of knowledge. I can't just give it to you innocently. Beat him to death." Uehara Naraku was unambiguous. He seemed to be a small gang leader in front of him. The tall Galio standing behind Uehara Naraku suddenly clenched his fists, and was about to punch Orochimaru on the head. "Wait." Orochimaru quickly raised his palm, and said in a deep voice, "I'm good at thousands of ninjutsu. It is impossible to waste a lot of time to tell you all the ninjutsu. At least you should list a few important ninjutsu, right? This is a little trick. This kid in front of him knows nothing. The ninjas in this ninja world only learn a few ninjutsu in their lifetime. They have never heard of many ninjutsu. Most of the popularized ninjutsu are D-level or even C-level ninjutsu. It's good enough for this kid to name a few ninjutsu. I understand what you mean, and I won't make excessive demands." Uehara Naraku spread out his fingers and said softly, "First, the mutual detonation talisman technique, palm immortal technique, impure world reincarnation technique, corpse reincarnation technique, shuriken shadow clone technique." Every time Uehara Naraku mentioned a name, Orochimaru's heart couldn't help but jump. How could he hand over all the ninjutsu that this kid mentioned? Without those unique ninjutsu, how could he still gain a foothold in the ninja world? "Wait, I can teach you the other techniques." Orochimaru interrupted Uehara Naraku coldly and explained, "I haven't studied the impure world reincarnation and the living corpse reincarnation yet. When we meet again next time, if I have completed them, I will teach you these two techniques. How about that?" "Okay." Uehara Naraku narrowed his eyes, and smiled innocently at Orochimaru. "Thanks to the 7 warlords of the Sea Monkey Sailor for the reward. Thanks to Lali Miu for the reward." Chapter 105. Do you still want to resist? Orochimaru wanted to delay. Uehara Naraku would definitely do as he wished. From this point of view, Orochimaru's two techniques are indeed not perfect, and there are still big loopholes. Uehara can wait for a while. When Orochimaru perfects the techniques in the future, he will go to collect the debt. After a while, Orochimaru took out a few scrolls and threw them to Uehara, including the mutual detonation talisman technique, shuriken shadow clone and 5-element seal. Yakushi Kabuto also handed over the scroll of palm immortal technique. He is a serious medical ninja. Orochimaru stared at Uehara Naraku coldly. Seeing Uehara rummaging through the scrolls, he said in a deep voice, "Can we go now?" "Yeah." Uehara Naraku slowly raised his head and stared at Orochimaru with an ugly face. "Senior Orochimaru, don't have that expression, be happy. Also, don't say things that shouldn't be said to others in the future. You saw it before. I can find you at any time, Senior Orochimaru." "Don't worry." Orochimaru gritted his teeth, took off the ring of the void from his finger, and was about to throw it to Uehara Naraku. "I don't want to see your Akatsuki people again. I won't let you meet Lord Pain and Teacher Conan." Uehara Naraku waved his hand nonchalantly and said, "But it doesn't matter. If you meet other people, you can escape from their hands." After that, Uehara Naraku suddenly raised his head and asked again, "By the way, I heard that Senior Orochimaru is good at the Great Snake style substitution technique and can use chakra to recover from his injuries. Is that right? Do you want to learn this technique too?" Orochimaru's face suddenly became gloomy again, but he seemed to have thought of something and smiled. "This technique requires. I'm not the kind of person who likes to take away other people's knowledge." Uehara Naraku shook his head and told Galio behind him, "Before you leave, cut off the 2 legs of Orochimaru Sr. This is the price he paid for betraying Akatsuki. I'm an intern of Akatsuki, and I can't ignore a traitor and let him run away." "Kid, are you kidding me?" Orochimaru's face suddenly became furious. Orochimaru clenched his teeth tightly and slowly put his fingers together, looking like he might fight Uehara Naraku at any time. Uehara Naraku retorted without raising his head, "I'm not going to kill you, and you can recover." There's nothing wrong with these words. But for Orochimaru, it's a bit too humiliating. Bang! Shadow clone technique. Orochimaru's fingers suddenly closed together, and another shadow clone appeared beside him. A hint of fierceness and madness flashed in the eyes of the 2 Orochimaru, and they began to join hands to form seals. The speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Water style, Water Dragon Bullet. Lightning style, Thunderbolt. After Orochimaru and his shadow clone formed seals and released 2 ninjutsu, they looked a little proud. "Thank you for giving me enough time and opportunity to recover chakra. Go to hell, Thunder Water Dragon Bullet." In a thunderstorm, a huge water dragon rushed out of the storm, and lightning kept floating on the water dragon's body, making people dare not approach. Thunder Water Dragon Bullet. This is a combination ninjutsu that Orochimaru learned from the 3rd generation Hokage. Although Orochimaru is not very good at fire style ninjutsu and cannot release ninjutsu of the level of 5 styles Great Link Bullet at the same time, Orochimaru is still very skilled in using the dual attribute combination ninjutsu of Thunder Water Dragon Bullet. The Thunder Water Dragon jumped out proudly and rushed towards Galio. However, the tall stone statue suddenly spread its wings, and a gust of wind emanated from its body, gradually extending its range outward. The strange thing is that this gust of wind seemed to move from the outside to the inside. The Thunder Water Dragon Bullet entered the range of the gust of wind in an instant, and then turned into a ball of water stains, and fell to the ground. The chakra brewing in it entered Galio's body along the gust of wind. Uehara Naraku frowned and glanced at the puddle of water stains on the ground. "Is this a ban on the use of chakra?" "No, it's a forbidden magic." After the tall giant stone statue refuted, it smashed Orochimaru's legs with a punch, and said in a muffled voice, "Then my mission is completed. Can I go back and rest?" "Whatever." Uehara Naraku waved his hand. The tall giant stone statue turned into a ball of smoke and dissipated. Seeing the giant stone statue disappear, Kabuto Yakushi slowly breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly carried Orochimaru on his back to escape further away. At least their lives could be saved. Uehara Naraku did not chase after it. Sometimes you can't uproot leeks in one go. You have to cut them according to the season. After all, the rewards given by Orochimaru and Kabuto Yakushi are too much now. It was much more than he had imagined. If it weren't for Orochimaru's bad character, Uehara Naraku really wanted to make friends with him. Side quest, defeat Manabu, 1/1, quest completed, reward summoning contract Demon Serpent Embrace Cassiopeia, Soul Lotus. Summoning contract, Demon Serpent Embrace Cassiopeia, Soul Lotus. Summoning consumes 3000 chakra points. When will the summoning contract be able to summon snake people? Uehara Naraku remembered that this demon serpent embrace was a human mutation, and it was said that her eyes could instantly petrify anyone who saw her. Unfortunately, demon serpent embrace seemed to never be able to petrify Galio. Originally, Uehara Naraku didn't like this summoning contract, but if it was a soul lotus snake girl with some Japanese style, it didn't seem to be unacceptable. Side quest, defeat Orochimaru, 1/1, quest completed, reward skill petrifying gaze. Petrifying gaze, release a petrifying light through your eyes, and the enemy facing you will be petrified directly, lasting for 2 seconds, with a minimum chakra consumption of 100 points and a cooldown of 60 seconds. This skill is derived from Cassiopeia. However, the control effect of this skill is strong enough. Side quest, obtain the Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique, 1/1, the quest has been completed, and the reward skill is My Style's ultimate move. Cold Shadow. My Style's ultimate move. Cold Shadow. Shoot 5 sharp chakra kunai in a cone. After the kunai hits, it will temporarily reduce the enemy's ability to move. It consumes 120 points of chakra and has a cooldown of 0.75 seconds. This skill seems to be useless. Uehara Naraku frowned. Apart from throwing kunai, which makes him look like a serious ninja in the future, this skill is not particularly powerful. It can barely be considered a group attack skill, and the cooldown time is also very short. It can be almost infinitely instant, but he also has a card trick skill. It can only be said that something is better than nothing. Side quest, get the 5 element seal, 1/1, quest completed, 100 gold coins as reward. Is this 5 element seal so unpopular that it can't even get a higher reward? Fortunately, there is one last quest. Side quest, get the Palm Immortal Technique, 1/1, quest completed, reward skill Healing Technique. Healing Technique, immediately restore 15% of the life energy for you and the surrounding friendly forces, consumes no chakra, and has a cooldown of 120 seconds. This introduction is really simple and crude. Uehara Naraku shook the scrolls in his hand and put them into his ninja tool bag. From now on, he can also call himself a medical ninja. In addition to these, he can also use the Palm Immortal Technique, Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique, and 5 element seal directly. I didn't expect the system to have such a hidden function. Maybe this function should be called compatibility? If Uehara had discovered this function early, wouldn't he still be able to pretend to be a ninjutsu genius? It's just that Uehara's own power has already taken shape, and ordinary ninjutsu can hardly bring improvement. As for the next itinerary, it is to go to the Sand Village, to meet up with Scorpion and Deidara, and ask him how he handled the Sand Village. After solving these problems, we can go back. Uehara Naraku touched his ninja tool bag, with a proud look on his face. He will go back, and give the multiplication detonating tag to Zayanan. Will his teacher like this gift this time? Thanks to Shiyamo Zayanayu for the reward. Thanks to Don't You Have a Nickname that can be used for the reward. By the way, why are there 999 and 101? Chapter 106. It's time for someone to take the blame. Land of Wind. The wind and sand outside the Sand Village are still very strong. Scorpion used the brain to control Maki and Yura, 2 of the Sand Village's Jonins. From then on, Scorpion knew everything about the Sand Village. He also used the influence of Maki and Yura to propose that after the death of the 4th Kazakage, there would be no successor in the Sand Village for the time being, and he gave up the pursuit of the Rain Village to avoid causing a war. The most important thing is that Scorpion can also use Maki to control Gaara's news. When the Akatsuki organization collects all the information about the tailed beasts one day in the future, Scorpion can directly capture Gaara, the one-tailed Jinchuriki, through Maki. You go back. Scorpion's fingers moved slightly, controlling Maki and Yura to turn back to the direction of the Sand Village, sealing the memories in their brains. You are worthy of being Scorpion Dan. Deidara praised Scorpion's skills. Although it is not as good as my explosion art, it also has some merits. If you can't talk, just shut up. Scorpion glared at Deidara dissatisfiedly. Since the problem of the 4th Kazakage's death in the Land of Rain was perfectly solved, Scorpion and Deidara did not hesitate, and planned to leave here, and go back to report to Peen. By the way, let Peen pass the message to Uehara and Naraku. Let the kid go back to the land of rain by himself, and don't need to come to the sand village to cause trouble again. Okay, I know. Deidara touched the back of his head embarrassedly and blinked at Scorpion, respecting the elderly and seniors. I still know how to do it. Scorpion held his breath in his stomach. Deidara seemed to be a heartless guy. After choking Scorpion with one sentence, he threw his white bird. Scorpion Dan, let's go. Scorpion snorted coldly, slowly climbed onto Deidara's white bird, and the two of them sat on the white bird and flew into the sky, slowly disappearing outside the sand village. When they left, a figure quietly appeared from the ground. Uehara and Naraku watched the big white bird disappear and frowned. Isn't Scorpion going to see his grandmother? I didn't expect Scorpion to be so capable. While Uehara and Naraku was dealing with Orochimaru, Scorpion had already solved the troubles of Sand Village, which was a bit bad. This directly disrupted Uehara's plan. In this case, someone can only take the blame. Uehara and Naraku tapped his arm with his fingers, looked up at Sand Village, and his body sank back into the ground. Late at night, Uehara and Naraku secretly found out the situation in Sand Village. With the death of the fourth Kazekage, there was no ninja who could take the lead in the entire Sand Village. In addition, they suffered heavy losses in the Rain Country, so the Sand Ninjas could only ask Chiyo and Ibizo to come out again. Chiyo's prestige is still there. She will temporarily take charge of Sand Village as an advisory elder, and wait until the fifth Kazekage is selected in the future. As the advisor who assisted the Kazekage in running the Sand Village in Buu, Ibizo also got his original position and returned to the Sand Village senior management. The night was getting darker and darker, and the moonlight was getting brighter and brighter. The moonlight shone into Ibizo's room, and a palm quietly floated out from the wall and placed a note on his desk. However, when the palm retracted back to the wall, it threw out a pen and woke up the sleeping old man. Even though Ibizo was old, his mind was still extremely alert. The next second, the old man turned over, and a kunai fell into his palm. His eyes, which had been slightly narrowed, now looked particularly bright. Who is it? After a while, Ibizo looked at his room vigilantly. His eyes stopped at the note on the table, and his face changed instantly. Who on earth sneaked into his room? And without anyone noticing, he left a note on his desk. If it was a ninja from his own village, there would be room for negotiation. But if it was an enemy, it would be too dangerous for the Sand Village senior management. Things don't always go as planned. When Ibizo opened the note, his expression became extremely ugly, and a drop of cold sweat appeared on his forehead, because there was a simple spiral mark on the back of the note. That was the mark of the Hidden Leaf Village. Ibizo was silent for a while, and decided to follow the words on the note. He put on his clothes and decided to rush to the secret meeting place on the note. In the oasis outside the hidden Sand Village. This was originally the retreat of Ibizo and Chiyo. Since they returned to live in the hidden Sand Village, this place will probably be blocked soon, and Chiyo and Ibizo will return here to live in seclusion after their second retirement in the future. Today, an uninvited guest was welcomed here. When Ibizo rushed from the village, he saw an old man with half of his body wrapped in bandages sitting in the room. The leader of the Konoha route, Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo was Ibizo's biggest opponent in the past, and he was also the dark side of the ninja world who had put the hidden Sand Village in crisis several times. Ibizo slowly sat down at the table and said in a gloomy voice, "Long time no see, Danzo. I didn't expect you to have the courage to ask me out in private. The Sand Village is very weak." Danzo Shimura slowly poured a cup of tea and placed it in front of Ibizo. If the fourth Kazekage had not died, even if the people I sent could deliver the invitation to you silently, this place would probably be surrounded by the Enbu now, right? Ibizo looked down at the tea and did not choose to take it. Danzo Shimura seemed to have sensed what he meant and smiled, saying, "Don't doubt it. I'm here to seek cooperation with you this time." Those young people in the ninja world are too hot-tempered and always think that cooperation will harm their interests. In fact, cooperation can achieve a win-win situation. Ibizo was silent for a while, then he sighed and said, "Just say it, if you have something to say. I'm old and can't stay up late often." "Very good." After nodding, Danzo Shimura said in a deep voice, "I want a copy of the reincarnation technique developed by Chiyo." "How do you know?" What's impossible to know? Danzo Shimura raised his head and glanced at the surprised Ebis and said leisurely, okay, the fourth Kazakage has died in the rain country. I have confirmed this information. I'm very clear about the amount of tasks you have in the sand village. If you want to maintain the sand village, you can only rely on Konoha to give you the tasks in the wind country. Ebis shook his head and rejected Danzo Shimura's proposal. Do you have this ability? The old man Sarutobi Hirozen is still here, and it's not your turn to make the decision in Konoha. As long as Sarutobi Hirozen dies, Konoha will naturally be in my hands. Shimura Danzo showed a secret smile, as if everything was under control. Besides, the Kazakage died in the rain country. You must be at odds with the rain country. Do you need me to mediate between you and the rain country? I have a good relationship with that Hanzo-sama. Ebis's fingers slowly tapped on the table legs. Today, the Sand Village just passed a resolution, intending to negotiate with the Rain Village about the death of the fourth Kazakage in the Rain Country, and by the way, try to threaten Hanzo, and get some benefits. As for the war, the Sand Village is definitely not going to start it. However, this depends on whether the Salamander Hanzo agrees to their negotiations, and there is even a possibility that Hanzo will take advantage of the death of the Kazakage to attack the Sand Village. After all, the current Sand Village is weaker than ever. If you want the reincarnation technique, I can give it to you. Ibizo slowly raised his head and looked at Shimura Danzo and said word by word, Konoha must support your negotiations with the Rain Country, return the mission commissioned by Konoha in the Wind Country, and provide a certain amount of food to the Wind Country. Thank you for the reward from Gushijian. Thank you for the reward from Usugi 521. Thank you for the reward from Pienbei Kan Bei. It will be available tomorrow. Chapter 107. Danzo's name is quite useful. Ibizo put forward a lot of conditions in a scattered manner. Shimura Danzo still had a smile on his face. After Ibizo finished talking, he said, your price is too high. Why don't we part ways now and talk again when Konoha supports the Hidden Rain Village to invade the Kingdom of Wind? You can't bargain? After Ibizo finished speaking, his expression became very ugly. If the fourth Kazakage had not died in battle, he would not bother to pay attention to Shimura Danzo. He is indeed the most insidious and despicable villain in the ninja world. He is so skilled in taking advantage of the situation. Sooner or later, this guy Danzo will not have a good death. First, I will help you make peace with the Hidden Rain Village. When Shimura Danzo said this, his face flushed slightly, but it was not very obvious in the night. He continued, the Hidden Rain Village has a genius ninja who defeated the fourth Kazakage and his guards. Their war spirit is very high. It is not easy for you to get peace. Ebis said with some dissatisfaction. Danzo, your Konoha is an ally of the Hidden Sand Village. Are you just standing by and watching? Shimura Danzo snorted coldly and said, when the fourth Kazakage invaded the Land of Rain, did he think of Konoha being an ally of the Hidden Sand Village? In short, I can only guarantee that war will not happen. Ebis fell into deep thought. After a moment, he finally nodded helplessly. The Hidden Sand Village at this time could not experience any turmoil. As long as they could get peace, they would be satisfied. Since there is no result, it is better to rest and recuperate for the time being, and wait until the Hidden Sand Village becomes strong again in the future, and can use the excuse of the fourth Kazakage's death to invade the Land of Rain. As for the mission commissions from the Kingdom of Wind, Shimura Danzo obviously mentioned a topic that Ebis was very concerned about. After all, without the fourth Kazakage's gold rush, the Sand Village could only rely on mission commissions to exchange for funds. Shimura Danzo glanced at Ebis and continued, can the funds of your Sand Village still support you for a while? After a while, when the time is right and I become the Hokage of Konoha, I will return your mission commissions. Ebis immediately cast a strong look of distrust. In this ninja world, almost no one who dared to trust Shimura Danzo would end up with a good ending. Ebis was his old rival, so naturally he would not believe Danzo's verbal promise. How about this? I give you some information first. Shimura Danzo tapped the table with his fingers and said softly, the Joninura in your village is a spy controlled by someone. He should be controlled by the subconscious sand manipulation technique. As for the person who controls Yura behind the scenes, I don't need to say it, right? Ebis's face changed drastically. Ura is the Jonin responsible for the outer defense of the Sand Village. If Ura is controlled by someone, it is almost equivalent to the Sand Village being defenseless. Moreover, the brain-sinking sand manipulation technique has always been the secret technique of the Sand Village puppeteer. Ordinary genius puppeteers cannot be exposed to these. There are very few puppeteers who can learn the brain-sinking sand manipulation technique. Ibizo happens to know two people. One of them is his sister Chiyo. Obviously, Chiyo cannot use this ninjutsu against the people in the village. It can only be the grandson, Scorpion of the Red Sand, who was taught by Chiyo. Just treat this news as a bonus. Shimura Danzo slowly stood up and whispered, if you agree to our deal, you can put the ninjutsu on the table tomorrow and I will send someone to pick it up. Shimura Danzo walked to the door, opened the door, and added, if you don't agree to our deal. No, I believe you will agree, because everything we do is for each other's village. I agree to your deal. Ebiz turned his head and looked at Shimura Danzo's somewhat old body and asked curiously, but when can you become Hokage? Don't worry. Shimura Danzo held his arm and said seriously, I should be 65 years old this year, and it should be soon. Ebiz. This fucking man is almost buried. What the hell is he still doing at this age? It's just that the information he got from Shimura Danzo is enough to pay the price of Jisa's reincarnation, and Ebiz is too lazy to care about the subsequent mission commission. Anyway, he will have to negotiate with Konoha sooner or later. Instead of doing this, why not listen to Danzo's idea of becoming Hokage, just for fun? Shimura Danzo didn't care at all, and continued, the martyr is old, but his ambition is still strong. Even if I'm over 70 years old, I will definitely become the Hokage of Konoha. Ebiz. Why are you still so full of yourself? How can an old man like Shimura Danzo become Hokage? The negotiations were initially successful, and Shimura Danzo seemed to be in a good mood. He continued softly, it is certainly not easy for people to accept my age, so I can only rely on my own strength. Ebiz shook his head. To be honest, he still didn't quite believe it. Shimura Danzo seemed to know what Ebiz was thinking, and suddenly said, if Chiyo-sama is willing, she will be the 5th Kazekage of Sand Village now, right? I think. I understand what you mean. Ebiz's voice suddenly became a little low, and he said, even if the 3rd Hokage died in battle like the 4th Kazekage, Konoha is full of talents. I will kill those competitors. Shimura Danzo's words seemed unusually solid and powerful. He looked at Ebiz and said, if one day someone invites you to participate in a Konoha collapse plan, then participate in it. On the day that the plan succeeds, I will return the mission entrusted by Sand Village to you. Ebiz was a little confused. Okay, I'll go first. Shimura Danzo walked out of the door slowly and said coldly, if someone deceives me, I will make him realize that the power of Konoha is not something a weak ninja village can resist. Don't worry. Ebiz shook his head and said, we all have some integrity. The two old men who each controlled the dark side of the village parted ways. Their negotiations seemed to be very successful, and they both got what they wanted. Ebiz found Ura when he returned that night and asked his sister Chiyo to remove the sand manipulation technique and learned the information about Scorpion from Ura. In addition, Ebiz insisted on trading with Shimura Danzo. The next day, a secluded place in this oasis. A young ninja stepped into the room, picked up a scroll from the table, and showed a mysterious smile at the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect that Shimura Danzo's identity is quite useful, and there is no psychological barrier to using it. Anyway, he can't wash it clean, so it doesn't matter if he takes a few more blames. Yes. The person who negotiated with Ebiz last night was Shimura Danzo after Uehara Naraku used the natural illusion to transform. He conquered Ebiz with his superb acting skills. Sure enough, I'm a genius. The smile on Uehara Naraku's face became more and more intense. Side quest, get Jisai reincarnation, 1/1. The quest has been completed, and the reward skill time travel. Time reversal, cast a time spell for protection on the target for 5 seconds. If the target dies within 5 seconds, the target's life state will be reversed to revive. The skill consumes 125 chakra points, and the skill cooldown time is 60 seconds. This skill is not a real time reversal, but a resurrection skill prepared in advance, which can be called a real magic skill. Unfortunately, the dead cannot be resurrected. You can only prepare for the resurrection of the living in advance. Golden body stagnation, cell division, time reversal. Uehara Naraku himself couldn't help but smile bitterly. Now with so many life-saving skills, it's really hard to die. The most important thing is that this skill can be used to protect others, so that Uehara Naraku will not be helpless when Konan and Nagato are in danger. Uehara Naraku touched the ring on his hand. Well, this time I have gained enough, and I should go back to the Hidden Rain village, to be my village accountant. Thank you for the reward from Badaos and Yushim. Thank you for the reward from book friend 140,914,192,417,063. Thank you for the reward from Sui Buru Renyuan. Chapter 108 Remarks on the release. Let me say a few words in advance. This book will be on the shelves at 12 noon on Friday, which is tomorrow. I polished this book for a while, made an outline, and saved some manuscripts, because I want to write a Naruto fanfiction that can be accepted by everyone. I have been grateful for your support for the past 2 months. I'm very grateful to all the book friends for their recommendation votes and the rewards they gave me. This is also the motivation for me to write it down. Tomorrow is the time for acceptance. I hope everyone will support it actively and subscribe to it. You can turn on automatic subscription. There will probably be more updates. First of all, there will be 10 chapters for everyone to see. Then add 3 chapters to repay the rewards from our leader, Cool Fenghua, and the helmsman Mirantiden, who came uninvited, and the rewards from the boss von Sklovsky, as well as the scattered rewards from other book friends. That is to say, there will be a total of 13 chapters tomorrow. I added another chapter. Next, let's talk about the rules for adding chapters. The performance of the previous book was not very good, which was my own problem. Starting from the first order, let's set a goal. The average order of the first day is about 2,200 within 24 hours. The previous book was about 2,200. This book should perform better than the previous one. If the first order is 2,200, one more chapter will be added for every 300 increase. I can only ask you for this. The second is the reward for the extra chapter. 30,000 points of reward will add 1 chapter, and 100,000 points will add 4 chapters. I hope everyone will support it, just in case a big boss takes a liking to this book. The author writes books mainly for subscriptions, and book friends read books mainly for exchanges and comments, so I hope book friends will also interact more in the 5th chapter comments area. After all, it's rare to have a few like-minded people. We are all old two-dimensional people. By the way, I'll also cry a little about poverty. In October last year, my life was basically in a stage of collapse. I thought I couldn't bear it, until I wrote a book, and barely made a living. There are also a few book friends who know my situation, and encourage and support me privately. This book will continue to be carefully polished, and strive to write a fine fan book. I hope everyone will actively support it, and subscribe to it, so that its data can look good. At present, our book has the highest collection among those strongly recommended on the homepage of this issue. I hope it can also be the highest when the subscription comes out. That's all. Thanks so much for the thick ink pouring on the book. Otherwise, I wish you all a happy new year in advance. Happy New Year. Ha 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 ha. Uchiha laughs wildly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, The Possibility of Returning and Treating Nagato. The Hidden Rain Village. The heavy rain in the village is still heavy. Since Konan became the angel of the village, she began to carry out drastic reforms in the Hidden Rain village, building an orphanage and a ninja school. Kaguya Kimimaro and Shiro just caught up with the last train of age. Even though they have gradually learned to develop blood-related ninjutsu, under Konan's order, the two had to enter the ninja school to set an example for their juniors. Today, Konan happened to be supervising in the ninja school and guiding the students to practice. Konan discovered that one of the girls had a talent for time and space. The girl's name was Hydrangea. A piece of paper engraved with a seal floated out of Conan's palm, and she handed it to Hydrangea. You try to unlock the seal and take out the things inside. Yes, Angel. Hydrangea's voice sounded soft and sticky. Although Hydrangea was speaking seriously and firmly, it made people feel that the little girl was acting coquettishly. Even when she released ninjutsu, it sounded a little cute. Keifeng Jutsu Kune. Hydrangea stroked the white paper and took out the kune from the seal spell on the white paper, which attracted a burst of exclamations from the surrounding students. Conan raised her eyebrows, glanced at Hydrangea, nodded at her and praised, "Well done, you have a talent for practicing spiritualism." Dong dong dong. Someone knocked on the window of the ninja classroom. Many ninja students and Conan in the classroom couldn't help but turn their heads at the same time, only to see a young ninja wearing a special black ninja uniform. Naraku. Conan's mouth curled up with a smile. Just as she was about to go out to greet a returning disciple, she saw Uehara Naraku opened the window and jumped in. Uehara Naraku looked at the Hydrangea inexplicably, then looked at Xiaonan and said, "Teacher, I actually have a talent for practicing spiritualism." You. Xiaonan was about to speak, but when she thought of Uehara Naraku entering danger alone again, the smile on her face suddenly withdrew. "Do you still know that I'm your teacher?" Uehara Naraku looked embarrassed and quickly took out a scroll from the ninja tool bag and handed it to Xiaonan. "I prepared a gift for teacher Xiaonan when I came back. Teacher, you will definitely like it. This is a ninjutsu scroll, right?" Xiaonan looked at his disciple hesitantly. Does this little guy Uehara Naraku know what gift he should give? Who would give a gift like a ninjutsu scroll? Even teacher Jiraiya would not do such a thing. That would make people have a cerebral hemorrhage. "Open it after we get back. This is not the right place." Just as Conan was about to open it, Uehara Naraku grabbed her palm, shook his head slightly, and continued with a smile. "But I believe that you will like it, Conan. The multiplication detonating talisman technique is the most suitable ninjutsu for Conan. As long as Uchiha Obito learns the multiplication detonating talisman technique, if he wants to hurt Conan, he must first think about how to escape from the detonating talisman array." "Okay, I won't delay the teacher's business for now." Uehara Naraku let go of Conan's palm, jumped out of the window, and left his voice. "I still have to give the gift to Lord Pain." The ninja students looked at Uehara Naraku flying into the sky, and envy flashed in their eyes. Only Hydrangea pondered for a while, and suddenly said, "Angel, is the ninja just now your disciple?" "Yes, he is my only disciple." There was some warmth in Xiaonan's eyes. She carefully put the ninjutsu scroll into her ninja tool bag. At least this gift looked more normal than the explosive knife Fimo. It's just that this disciple's aesthetics and emotional intelligence need to be studied. The Hidden Rain Tower. Nagato lives here. When Uehara came in quietly, Nagato was polishing a chakra sensor. He turned his head and smiled as if he had realized something. "Your teacher can't wait to leave the village to catch you back. If you don't come back, I will be driven crazy by her nagging." "Ha, does Nagato also think that the teacher is nagging?" Uehara Naraku smiled, walked in front of Nagato, and looked down at this man, who should be in his prime, but could only sit in a wheelchair and spend his days with a skinny appearance. Nagato's mood seemed to be getting better. He shook his head when he heard what Uehara Naraku said. "I dare not. By the way, how was your mission outside? Orochimaru escaped." Uehara Naraku shook his head and sighed. "I had a big fight with Orochimaru. His body seemed to be a little bit wrong. Unfortunately, my chakra was exhausted, and I could only let him escape." Nagato was silent for a while, and continued to polish the chakra sensor in his hand. "That's not bad. Orochimaru is no longer useful. It's his luck to use him to prove that you have become stronger. But it's not without other gains." Uehara Naraku stretched out his palm and placed it on Nagato's back. A warm chakra and life energy entered Nagato's body. In a short moment, Nagato's face had a blush. Nagato turned his head in disbelief, looking at Uehara Naraku in doubt and said, "What kind of ninjutsu is this? A healing ninjutsu? How can it restore chakra?" "Well, that's about right." Uehara Naraku explained softly. "I found several scrolls from Orochimaru, some of which involve medical ninjutsu. I researched a ninjutsu from 2 techniques, which can barely be considered a ninjutsu experiment." "What are those 2 techniques?" Nagato's eyes suddenly changed. He could clearly feel that the power and life energy in his body had changed. This was not something that ordinary ninjutsu could do. Even if it was a medical ninjutsu, it would only accelerate the division of human cells to heal injuries. In his case, there was no way that any ninjutsu could heal him. Two useless techniques. Uehara Naraku patted his forehead and said softly, "Anyway, I only used it superficially. How do you feel, Lord Nagato?" Nagato did not answer Uehara Naraku, but just looked at him coldly and said, "Uehara, this is a forbidden technique of life transfer, right?" As a ninjutsu genius, Nagato only thought about it for a while, and immediately understood the essence of this technique. The transfer of life energy must be a forbidden technique. One person lives, one person dies. No. Uehara Naraku hurriedly shook his head and explained, "It can be done by just using chakra. I will recover soon." Nagato stretched out his palm, not believing his words. "Give me the techniques you learned." "No." Uehara Naraku just shook his head. However, looking at Nagato's stubborn face, Uehara Naraku helplessly took out 2 scrolls and placed them on the table. "I have studied a little bit of superficial application myself, which can only be used to heal others, but not to bring the dead back to life. Self-reincarnation, palm fairy technique." After looking at the scrolls for a while, Nagato waved his hand and tore them into pieces. Nagato slowly turned his head and looked at Uehara Naraku. "This is the transfer of lifespan. You must never use this technique in the future. I don't need it. But we need it." Uehara Naraku looked at Nagato firmly and said in a deep voice, "Lord Nagato, we still have many enemies. Uchiha Obito, Shimura Danzo, Konoha, Iwagakure, Sand Village, Mist Village, Kumogakure. Akatsuki's ideal has not yet been realized." In between his words, Uehara Naraku secretly brought in his private goods. When he had nothing to do, he would give Uchiha Obito some eye drops. After finishing speaking, Uehara Naraku added, "I found someone to experiment on the way. It was only my chakra that was wasted. Even if my body is a little weak, it will be restored to vitality the next day." Nagato frowned and asked, "Then how does your technique work?" It's not easy to describe." Uehara raised his palm and covered Nagato's body. "It's probably this way and that way, and you can heal others, but a lot of chakra is wasted, and I can only use it a few times before my chakra is exhausted. Let's talk about it slowly first." Nagato still didn't agree, but said coldly, "Don't try these dangerous techniques in the future. Study hard with your teacher for a while." "Okay." Uehara Naraku spread his hands helplessly and used star infusion to send chakra and life energy into Nagato's body, which made Nagato's face more and more angry and waved him away. However, Nagato's body did look better. At least he was no longer in a state where he might die at any time. Uehara Naraku's eyes suddenly became a little hesitant. If his guess was correct, judging from the numerical value, the chakra in Nagato's body must have exceeded 10,000 points, right? Are all descendants of the Uzumaki clan so terrifying? Thanks to Jiangxing Kaizen for the reward. Thanks to Yao Zugang for the reward. Thanks to book friend 161,201,091,943,334 for the reward. Thanks to Gushijin for the reward. Chapter 110. My name is Uehara, the best green tea. After returning to the Hidden Rain Village, Uehara Naraku's life gradually became regular. Every day, in addition to practicing with Conan, Uehara occasionally sneaks to Nagato to help him secretly perform a few star infusions. The rest of the time, he works as an accountant for the Hidden Rain Village. This kind of life is quite leisurely. From time to time, he will meet Hydrangea who wants to challenge his position. Uehara can see that Hydrangea really wants to become Conan's disciple. It is really difficult for Uehara Naraku to discourage her enthusiasm. Since helping to manage the accounts of the Hidden Rain Village, the people Uehara Naraku meets the most are Kakuzu and Scorpion of the Red Sand, because Kakuzu always has a way to make money, and Scorpion of the Red Sand has successfully created a human puppet of Rasa. Scorpion threw out a seal scroll, looked at Uehara Naraku and said, "I'll pay the gold dust and withdraw my experimental funds." Kakuzu walked into Uehara Naraku's office and put a box of money on the table. "I'll pay the money and collect the gold dust for selling." "Okay." Uehara Naraku took Kakuzu's money, took out about half of it, and gave the rest to Scorpion, and took the gold dust scroll from Scorpion. Scorpion Sr., the experimental funds you asked for. Uehara Naraku took the gold dust scroll from Scorpion again, and handed it to Kakuzu. Kakuzu Sr., this is the gold dust you asked for. Remember to exchange it for more money. This job made Uehara Naraku feel like he was a middleman. Scorpion and Kakuzu looked at Uehara Naraku's operation and were really speechless. Even if this guy was a middleman, didn't he know how to be a little bit shy? Once these two people started trading privately, Uehara Naraku might be passively unemployed. Fortunately, they were still abiding by the rules. After Kakuzu and Scorpion left, Uehara Naraku began to practice hand seals again, and an unexpected guest came. Zetsu's body floated out of the office. Black Zetsu looked at Uehara Naraku desperately and said sinisterly, Uehara, it seems that Conan trusts you very much. After all, I'm Conan's disciple. Uehara Naraku tilted his head, looked at Zetsu's figure, and said, Senior Zetsu, are you here to apply for funding too? No. Black Zetsu shook his head, looked at Uehara Naraku and smiled sinisterly, I want to talk to you about the future of Akatsuki. Uehara Naraku's eyelids twitched, and he looked at Zetsu speechlessly. I'm just an intern at Akatsuki, and Senior Zetsu is just an intelligence officer of Akatsuki. We don't need to care so much, right? No, it is very necessary. Black Zetsu slowly stood in front of Uehara Naraku and said in a deep voice, it seems that Conan is hiding something from you. It's time to tell you the truth about the existence of Akatsuki. Uehara, have you heard of the Moon Eye Project? There was a drop of cold sweat on Uehara Naraku's forehead, and he felt that something was wrong. If I remember correctly, Nagato and Conan only revived the Ten-Tails super weapon. Only Black Zetsu, Obito, and Hoshigaki Kisame knew about the Moon Eye Project that was extended after the Ten-Tails. Was Black Zetsu trying to win him over to join the Moon Eye group? Now, how should he answer? 10 minutes later. Half an hour later. An hour later. Uehara Naraku and Black Zetsu finished talking about the Moon Eye Project, and he sighed with unsatisfied feeling. I didn't expect that the Moon Eye Project that can create a new world is the true meaning of peace. Hehehe. Peace maintained by force cannot last long after all. Black Zetsu looked like a teachable child, nodded at Uehara Naraku and said, although Lord Madara has passed away, I will still inherit his will, and let the ninja world achieve this kind of peace without any regrets. I will support Senior Zetsu. Uehara Naraku nodded firmly, and a hint of fanaticism flashed in his eyes. When the Moon Eye Project is completed, there will be no more war in this ninja world, and the dream of Akatsuki inherited from Lord Yahiko Zero will be realized in our hands. This is really a test of acting skills. Because Uehara Naraku was afraid that he would burst out laughing if he was not careful. Zetsu's mouth curved and showed a hint of smile. Uchiha Obito was also a participant in the Moon Eye Project before. He was too stupid to be liked by everyone. He said this seriously. Black Zetsu really doesn't like Uchiha Obito, who is always doing bad things. These Uchiha clan members always like to be self-centered and think that the ninja world is under their control. As a result, what has it become now? They were directly kicked out. Black Zetsu noticed Uehara's surprised look and continued, but Obito is also a powerful person who can help us collect the tailed beasts in the future. Recently, I checked his intelligence and found that he doesn't seem to be living a happy life. Akatsuki may be able to reuse his understanding of the Moon Eye Project and the Samurai. I think so too. Uehara Naraku nodded and said helplessly, although Obito Senpai has an extreme personality, he is at least a powerful ninja. But not all members of Akatsuki see Obito Senpai the same way I do. Uehara Naraku lowered his head and pondered for a while before continuing. Senior Zetsu, we can only wait for the opportunity to mention the matter of Obito Senpai to teacher Conan. Yeah. Black Zetsu didn't think Uehara Naraku could do it right away. As long as it can influence Akatsuki subtly, it can regain control of Akatsuki. At least now it has convinced Uehara Naraku, which is a big progress, no matter how you look at it. From then on, Uehara Naraku's daily routine has one more thing, that is, to find a suitable opportunity to flatter Uchiha Obito in front of Conan and Nagato. Occasionally, Black Zetsu also secretly observed Unfortunately, without exception, Uehara Naraku's green tea style speech caused Conan to be more dissatisfied, which made Black Zetsu doubt his life. Until one day, Black Zetsu couldn't hold back any longer, and took the initiative to ask, Uehara, is Obito really that annoying? How could that be? Uehara Naraku habitually smiled, although he attacked me as a companion, because he revealed his identity before. I still think that Obito is a good person and I have forgiven him a long time ago. It doesn't matter if he accidentally killed me at that time. As long as the Moon Eye project can succeed, and the ninja world can enter true peace, I will sacrifice myself for it. Black Zetsu's expression was a little weird. He looked up at Uehara Naraku, sighed, and said, Obito, that idiot, is really annoying. No. Uehara Naraku shook his head and smiled. In fact, except for the time when he almost killed me accidentally, he was a very lively senior at other times. He should be easy to get along with. No, he's just a chatterbox. Black Zetsu's face was a little cold, and he cursed Uchiha Obito in his heart. Uehara Naraku was so easily persuaded by him, and Obito wanted to kill him without even thinking about it. He was indeed an idiot. After Black Zetsu left, Uehara Naraku went to see Hazuki Maingetsu. Uehara Naraku directly gave Hazuki Maingetsu a task: find an opportunity to go to the Hidden Mist village and tell Meditarumi that it was Uchiha Obito who had been controlling the 4th Mizukage to implement the Blood Mist policy. Is it really him? Hazuki Maingetsu's face was a little surprised. So far, Hazuki Maingetsu still doesn't know the truth. Only Uehara Naraku and Hoshigaki Kisame know this news. It's really him. Kisame also knows about this. Uehara Naraku nodded and said in a deep voice, Uchiha Obito has the legendary Mangekyou Sharingan that Uchiha Madara once had. It is very easy for him to control a Jinchuriki. After that, Uehara Naraku handed Hazuki Manayu a note. This is Uchiha Obito's information. You can say that you got it all by yourself. Understood. Hazuki Manayu agreed, with a smile on his sharp teeth. Then I can take this opportunity to meet Sujetsu. He had been away from the Hidden Mist village for a while, and he really missed his brother. However, Uehara Naraku glanced at him and poured a bucket of cold water on him. Don't forget your plan. After you go back this time, you can make your brother hate you a little more. Okay. Hazuki Manayu nodded dully. Chapter 111. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm a truant. The shock of the death of the 4th Kazakage of Sand Village has not yet subsided, and another piece of news has completely detonated the entire ninja world. This news came from the Kirigakure village far overseas. Kirigakure village issued a wanted order for Uchiha Obito. Not only that, Kirigakure village also announced information about Uchiha Obito, such as his age and photos, as well as his Mangekyou Sharingan ability. In addition to these, Kirigakure village simply put the blame for Uchiha Obito's affairs on the 3rd Hokage, and used this to negotiate with Konoha. Kirigakure village believed that Uchiha Obito should be under the order of Konoha. After the 3rd Ninja World War, he controlled the 4th Mizukage of Kirigakure village, mainly to seize the 3-tailed Isabuki in the 4th Mizukage's body. Konoha village was in a state of panic. Sarutobi Hiruzen was forced to finally stop supporting Hatake Kakashi, and announced an S-level wanted order for Uchiha Obito. Overnight, the Jinchuriki of the Great Ninja Village were in danger. Since they knew Uchiha Obito's ability, a single Jinchuriki had no power to fight back against Uchiha Obito, and several ninja villages began to become alert. Uchiha Obito truly became a ninja without a place to stand. In the small cave of White Zetsu, Uchiha Obito's face was not looking good. He had expected this day to come, but he didn't expect it to come so soon. He had originally thought that when everything was under control in the future, he would declare war on the entire ninja world, but now he has been listed as an enemy by the ninja world. How did the Hidden Mist village get the information? Uchiha Obito grabbed his hair, thinking about where he had leaked the floor. White Zetsu, could it be that Hoshigaki Kisame also betrayed me? After Uchiha Obito finished grabbing his hair, he looked at the Zetsu next to him with cold eyes. Or, did you betray me too? Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu's face was not looking good. Uchiha Obito used the word also very well. Is it really necessary to keep Obito to cooperate now? He is suspicious at every turn, as expected of a ninja from Uchiha. In this respect, Uchiha Obito is much worse than Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara completely believes that Black Zetsu is his own will. But things have developed to this point, and it is normal for Uchiha Obito to be so angry and suspicious of this and that. After all, his photos have been printed on the wanted poster. One with a mask, and one without a mask. I don't know which bastard provided these two photos. We can only trace the source of the information leak slowly. Black Zetsu sighed, glanced at Uchiha Obito and said, "From now on, you will be unable to move in the ninja world. You can only lurk and help me collect intelligence." HMPH. Obito slammed his fist on the table angrily and said in a deep voice, "This information was leaked from the Hidden Mist Village. The 3-7 ninja swordsmen of Akatsuki may be traitors. If not, just execute all 3 of them. Obito, Akatsuki is no longer yours." Black Zetsu shook his head, looked at Uchiha Obito who was in a bad mood, and sighed. "The 5 major ninja villages are looking for your whereabouts, and there are wanted warrants for you everywhere outside. They can't catch me, but it is very likely to hinder our plan." There was some dissatisfaction in Black Zetsu's words, and he said in a hoarse voice, "This time, it is obvious that the opponent is coming for you. They may not know the truth about the Moon Eye plan. We must hide and slowly investigate the intelligence, lest all of us are exposed." After Black Zetsu finished scolding Obito, he finally decided to use his trump card. "What if your activeness implicates the Akatsuki organization and my exposure? Obito, don't do anything impulsive, and you must not destroy Madara-sama's plan." "I know." Uchiha Obito nodded with a gloomy face. After Black Zetsu left, his hand moved to his chest little by little. There was a spell controlling him in his heart. This spell can only make Obito endure temporarily. In Konoha village, in the Hokage's office, Hatake Kakashi was in a worse mood than Uchiha Obito. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat in his seat, holding a pipe and smoking non-stop. The smoke and mist covered his face, making it difficult to see his expression. "Kakashi, I understand your thoughts." The slightly old voice of the third Hokage flowed in the Hokage's office, and his tone was full of regret. "Obito has finally taken the wrong path. We can't indulge him anymore." "I understand, Hokage." Hatake Kakashi pushed his ninja forehead protector and said softly, "I apply to track down Obito and bring him back. I have assigned the matter of tracking down Uchiha Obito to other people." Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, took a puff of his pipe and said, "You should have a good rest for a while. I have arranged a new task for you. We can no longer indulge in the past, but should focus on the future of Konoha." There was some hesitation on Kakashi Hatake's face. "Kakashi." Sarutobi Hiruzen interrupted Hatake Kakashi and said softly, "I have put you on the list of next year's guiding Jonin. Don't let me down." "I know." Hatake Kakashi stood up helplessly and left the Hokage's office. Before leaving, he suddenly turned around and said, "Sandaime-sama, if the students don't meet the ninja standards." Sarutobi Hiruzen looked up at him and said, "Kakashi, you are a guiding Jonin, and you have the power to decide whether they can graduate and become qualified ninjas." When Hatake Kakashi left the Hokage's office, he ran into a one-eyed old man wrapped in bandages, which made Kakashi feel even more depressed. Since being released from confinement, Shimura Danzo has become active in Konoha again. According to Kakashi's guess, Shimura Danzo should be the person appointed by Sarutobi Hiruzen to track down Obito. When Danzo Shimura and Hatake Kakashi passed by, he suddenly called out to him, "Kakashi, don't feel sorry for your old friend. A traitor in a village is not worth sacrificing the future of a Konoha Jonin." "What does Danzo-sama mean?" "My meaning is very simple." Danzo Shimura turned around slowly, looked at Kakashi's back and said, "I hope you didn't have any involvement with Uchiha Obito in the past." Hatake Kakashi was silent for a while, did not answer Danzo Shimura's words, and left the Hokage building directly. He needed to find a place to think carefully. Kakashi had reason to suspect that Danzo Shimura might frame him because of Obito's affairs in the future and try to steal the Sharingan. A new darkness is about to come. The peace of the entire ninja world has not started for a long time, and it has fallen into chaos again. No one can easily escape from this vortex. Konoha Memorial Monument. When Kakashi Hatake walked here, he happened to see several people digging up Uchiha Obito's grave and removing his tombstone. Since he is not a hero of Konoha, he is naturally not qualified to be in the memorial. Hatake Kakashi sighed in his heart, placed a bouquet of flowers in front of Nohara Lin's tombstone, squatted down and held his forehead. Lin, what should I do now? Just when Kakashi wanted to be quiet here for a while, a loud noise interrupted his thinking, as if someone had a dispute. Get out. This is too much. Get out. The person is already dead. I don't know when. A yellow-haired boy who was watching the fun suddenly appeared here. He should often play here at the memorial, and he is not afraid of the environment here. It's a pity that the ninjas responsible for digging Obito's grave didn't want to see him and push the boy away, cursing. Get away. Hey, how can you do this? The yellow-haired boy waved his arms vigorously and said indignantly, how can you dig up other people's graves? Get out. The gravedigger said briefly. Someone finally couldn't help it and pushed the yellow-haired boy to the ground. Hatake Kakashi frowned, walked to the side of the little boy, stopped the dispute between them, and finally made the land peaceful. The yellow-haired little boy sat next to Kakashi and muttered a little dissatisfied. How can they dig up the graves of the dead? Hatake Kakashi did not answer, but looked at the yellow-haired boy and said, kids of this age should all be in the ninja school, right? I skipped class. Teacher Iruka's class today was very boring. The yellow-haired boy seemed to be quite proud of skipping class and did not realize the seriousness of skipping class. Hatake Kakashi choked, patted his forehead, and said helplessly, you can escape from Iruka's class. You are really amazing. This kid, except for his appearance, is really not like his father at all. The father of the yellow-haired kid is known as a perfect ninja. You think I'm amazing too? The little boy with yellow hair turned to look at Hatake Kakashi with a smile on his face and said, Senior, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. What's your name? You will know later. Oh. The young Uzumaki Naruto suddenly felt a little depressed. He just focused on watching those people smash Obito's tombstone with force. He couldn't help but said with some dissatisfaction, Senior, why do they want to dig here? Hatake Kakashi touched the little boy with yellow hair, took a deep breath and said, because that person doesn't deserve to be here anymore. Chapter 112. 4 years later. The Hidden Rain Village. Uehara Naraku didn't know what happened in Konoha. As a qualified behind-the-scenes mastermind, what Uehara Naraku had to do was to check his results, and now it seemed that the results were not bad. A wanted storm against Uchiha Obito, which he led behind the scenes, directly made his main task progress jump to 12%. Unfortunately, it could only stop here. This was the last time Uehara Naraku targeted Uchiha Obito this year. Moreover, the 5 major ninja villages in the ninja world denounced Uchiha Obito with great momentum, but in the end, no trace of Obito was found. The storm gradually dissipated as time went on. Time was moving forward little by little. Uehara Naraku also had 2 teammates, Kaguya Kimimaro and Bei, around him, and the Hidden Rain team composed of 3 of them gradually became active in the ninja world. Uehara Naraku was also growing up day by day, becoming an innocent and kind young ninja. Kaguya Kimimaro's health was also getting better day by day, only Bei in their team was becoming more and more delicate and cute. 4 years passed in the blink of an eye. For 4 years, the ninja world was like a pool of stagnant water. It was normal for the ninja world to be so peaceful. After all, Uehara Naraku, the mastermind behind the scenes, was also trapped in the Hidden Rain village by his teacher. Apart from Uehara Naraku, the Uchiha had the final say on whether the ninja world was in chaos. Unfortunately, both Uchiha Obito and Uchiha Itachi seemed to stay quietly in a corner and did not cause any big noise. But this year, a new Uchiha will become a ninja. It is Uchiha Sasuke from Konoha village. Apart from Uchiha Itachi, perhaps only Uehara Naraku would pay attention to Sasuke and the situation of Team 7. After all, Team 7 will replace others and become the first batch of Leaksea harvested. Everything happened just as Uehara Naraku expected. When Team 7 led by Hatake Kakashi was carrying out the mission of the Land of Waves, the ninja they encountered was still Momochi's abuser's team. Unfortunately, Momochi's abuser's partner has changed. This time, Zabuza's partner is that guy Mainjetsu Kizuki. Zabuza Momochi plus Mainjetsu Hazuki, 2 official members of Akatsuki. This is a combination that is enough to make Team 7 despair. Because the missions in the Hidden Rain village are rare, Uehara Naraku can't find a suitable excuse to go out for a while. As he grows older, Conan gradually begins to strictly prohibit him from contacting members of Akatsuki because she is worried that he will be led astray by those rebellious ninjas. Fortunately, there are Kaguya Kimimaro and Haku. Conan doesn't mind the two of them contacting members of Akatsuki. Uehara Naraku sat on a cement pipe in the Hidden Rain village, stretched out his hand to take a glass of frozen juice from Bei's hand, and asked curiously, have Maingetsu and Momochi's abuser returned? How did they perform their mission in the Land of Waves? From the results, it's not bad. Kaguya Kimimaro nodded and said in a deep voice, they killed Kado and transported Kado's money to the base of Akatsuki, but there was a small problem in the middle. The two seniors met Konoha's Hatake Kakashi and both suffered losses. Uehara Naraku couldn't help shaking his head and sighed, TSK, that guy's really a 50-50 match. Hatake Kakashi's balance is really outrageous. He defeated two official members of Akatsuki. Could it be that, because of Uchiha Obito's incident, Hatake Kakashi became stronger again? After the incident in the Land of Waves, Bei survived his death. Uehara Naraku completed a side quest while lying down. Side quest, let Bei survive. 1/1, quest completed, reward skill Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier, create a huge ice wall by freezing the air, lasting 5 seconds. Minimum chakra consumption 75 points. Cooldown time 10 seconds. Uehara no longer cares about this skill. In the past 4 years, the hard work of practicing in the Hidden Rain village has finally paid off. Uehara has finally made himself stronger through his own practice and time accumulation. Well, mainly because he has grown up. After all, Uehara Naraku is already 16 years old this year, and there have been too many changes in both height and body shape. With the rewards of several side quests, his strength has increased slightly. Life energy 8321, standard cage level 3000 10,000, chakra energy 10,045, not within the conventional standard. Life recovery 9/second chakra recovery 6/second skill cooldown reduction 50% remaining gold coins 27:30. Just as Uehara Naraku finished listening to Kaguya Kimimaro and Bei's reports and was about to leave, a girl climbed up the cement pipe where they were. Her name is Hydrangea, and she is a genin who just graduated from the Hidden Rain village this year. Hydrangea walked step by step in front of Uehara Naraku and whispered, Mr. Uehara, the angel asked you to be responsible for receiving the Konoha envoy. Konoha envoy? Uehara Naraku couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The Hidden Rain village has been in a closed state, announcing to the outside world that they are still in a civil war. Generally, neighboring countries have long been too lazy to care about the affairs of the Hidden Rain village. However, the arrival of the Konoha envoy this time is really important. Their purpose is to invite the Hidden Rain ninjas to participate in the joint Chunin exam. According to ninja theory, the Chunin exam is equivalent to an arms race in the ninja world. If the Hidden Rain village is willing to participate, it can directly send a team leader and the genin who will take the exam to the border of the Land of Fire. After the Konoha ninjas register at the border, temporary passes for Konoha village will be issued uniformly to avoid unnecessary conflicts. After the Konoha envoy left, origami butterflies appeared beside Uehara Naraku and gathered into the appearance of Conan. 4 years have passed. Conan has not changed much, but has a more mature charm. Conan looked up at his taller disciple, frowning slightly with a trace of worry, and asked softly, is there any conspiracy in the Chunin exam held by Konoha? Show the talents of the great ninja village? Uehara Naraku smiled and continued softly, Teacher Conan, please help me prepare 3 genin registration certificates. Bei and I will also participate in this Chunin exam. Hearing what Uehara Naraku said, Conan's eyes were full of confusion. Naraku, why do you want to participate in the Chunin exam? Is this disciple desperate? Uehara is the future leader of the Hidden Rain village. I want to find out the information about Shimura Danzo. Uehara Naraku looked at Conan with worry in his eyes, shook his head and whispered, Teacher, there is no need to worry about safety. The Chunin exam is also a big event. Uehara actually plans to take the opportunity to sneak out and play around, and by the way, harvest the leeks cultivated many years ago, and the newly grown leeks, if possible. Uehara Naraku's eyes were a little dark. He really wanted to try to use this opportunity to lure Uzumaki Naruto to the dark side, or even guide him to join the Akatsuki organization. There are many Naruto dark side missions and the side missions. For example, a side mission that makes Pain and Uzumaki Naruto sit side by side in the ruins of Konoha and smoke. The reward is definitely beyond imagination, but the difficulty of completion is also very high. After all, minors in the ninja world are prohibited from smoking and drinking, and Nagato can't manipulate Pain to smoke, right? This is very tiring. While Uehara was still thinking hard, Konan was also thinking about the feasibility of his disciples participating in the Chunin exam. It seems reasonable to participate in the Chunin exam at the age of 16. If you put aside the statement that Uehara Naraku explored the information of Shimura Danzo, it feels like Uehara Naraku is more like bullying a group of children. As for safety issues, there is no need to worry. Konan has been carefully cultivating, and her disciples are not much different from the official members of Akatsuki, and they can also summon Tendo Pain. This disciple has grown up, and it seems that he can be released to fly around. After thinking for a while, Zayanan raised a question. You need a leading ninja, but it is not convenient for me to come out. This is easy. Uehara Naraku smiled. Why not let Hattori Hirakawa Sr. go with us? After all, he is our old friend. Chapter 113. Old friends arriving in Konoha. Hattori Hirakawa, a dedicated tool man. Since the death of Hands of the Salamander, Hattori Hirakawa was gradually entrusted with important tasks by Konan and Uehara Naraku because he surrendered the earliest. Today, he got another special task, acting as a team leader to lead Uehara Naraku, Kaguya Kimimaro and Haku to participate in the Chunin exam. This task made Hattori Hirakawa almost unable to figure it out. The future leader of the Hidden Rain Village also needs to participate in the Chunin exam. However, Hattori Hirakawa is just a tool man. He can only be responsible for executing the task. In addition to Uehara Naraku's team, there are no other ninjas in the Hidden Rain Village who will participate in the Chunin exam, because Uehara Naraku knows that this Chunin exam will not be peaceful. Even if the 4th Kazekage is killed by him, the Konoha collapse plan is likely to be staged as scheduled. After all, Uehara himself is also the Black Hand that promotes the Konoha collapse plan. When Uehara Naraku traded with Ibizo under the name of Shimura Danzo, he specifically reminded Ibizo that the Konoha collapse plan was in action to promote Danzo to become Hokage. Add to that Chiyo's hatred for Konoha. No matter who wants Konoha to collapse, Chiyo will definitely bring Sand Ninja to help out. This is a debt left by Kakashi's father. This is your Genin registration certificate. Konan handed Uehara Naraku a registration certificate and helped him to tidy up the Rain Ninja forehead protector. How did you convince Nagato to agree to let you take part in the Chunin exam? Uehara Naraku patted his forehead and explained softly. Nagato-sama told me that he would always have 6 paths Pain on standby. As long as there is a danger that cannot be solved, he can directly summon 6 paths Pain. This is also related to Nagato's gradual recovery. 6 paths Pain needs Nagato to provide chakra, but now Nagato, under Uehara Naraku's treatment, can fully support 6 paths Pain's actions for a long time, and no longer needs to put 6 paths Pain in a secret room to reduce chakra consumption. Hearing Uehara's words, Konan nodded and felt relieved. However, she was still a little dissatisfied and said, recently, Nagato has been more and more permissive towards you. If this continues, you will spoil people. Tsunade, one of the 3 ninjas of Konoha, was spoiled by her elders when she was a child, which led to her bad habits. Teacher, I have grown up. Uehara Naraku looked at Zayanan a little speechlessly, because in the past 4 years, as Uehara Naraku grew up, his relationship with Nagato gradually became better and better. Generally, if there was anything, he would go directly to Nagato. If he wanted to sneak out to play for a while, he also needed Nagato to cover for him. How should Uehara explain this to Zayanan? Generally speaking, the younger the boys are, the more curious they are about women, and they prefer to play with girls. As boys get older, they will realize that they prefer to play with boys. Nagato rarely disturbs Uehara Naraku. Only when he encounters something happy and worth sharing will he ask Uehara Naraku to find him. For example, when modifying the weapons of Shirado, every time Nagato succeeds in modifying them, he likes to drag Uehara to test the actual combat effect together. Guns and cannons are originally the romance of men. So every time Uehara sees Nagato, he is very happy. It's a pity that he can't share these with Xiaonan. Xiaonan is a woman who likes to fold different paper flowers and put them in Uehara Naraku's room as decorations, but Uehara Naraku doesn't even understand the meaning of each bouquet of flowers. Compared with those beautiful paper flowers, Uehara actually prefers Xiaonan to use a detonating tag to make him a simple version of a grenade to play with. If it doesn't work, making a bomb will do. Of course, this wish is impossible to achieve. Uehara Naraku sighed and took a look at his ninja registration certificate. The photo in it showed him smiling with squinting eyes. He looked very friendly and really a good person. Career advancement task, become a formal genin. 1/1. The task has been completed, and the reward is 100 points of life energy and 100 points of chakra. Uehara Naraku didn't feel very good. He was already 16 years old this year. Why did he still have an advancement task? Isn't it a big loss in the past few years? Okay, the weather is getting colder, be careful at night. Conan kept telling Uehara Naraku what to pay attention to. After walking to the gathering place with him, the gentle expression on the woman's face suddenly disappeared. Conan glanced at Kaguya Kimimaro, Haku and the team leader Hattori Hirakawa at the gathering point, and said in a cold voice, in this Chunin exam, protect Naraku, do you understand? Yes, Angel. Uehara Naraku couldn't help but pat his forehead. If something really happened in the Chunin exam, he would protect these guys. The high tower on the Hidden Rain village. Tendo Pain appeared at the window pushing Nagato's wheelchair, looking down at the backs of Uehara Naraku and his group leaving the Hidden Rain village. His eyes were a little heavy with expectation. Little guy, you are the future of the Hidden Rain village and Akatsuki, fly out. Tendo Pain stood behind Nagato and calmly began to join his hands to form a seal, releasing the phantom body technique to summon two members of Akatsuki who were active near the Land of Fire, Hashiga Kikisame and Uchiha Itachi. The two were a little puzzled when they received the call from Pain, but Tendao Pain directly explained their next mission. Uehara went to collect intelligence for the Chunin exam. Tendao Pain's eyes slowly stayed on Uchiha Itachi, and he said softly, your mission is to lurk in the Land of Fire. Once something unexpected happens in the Chunin exam, immediately help Uehara out of danger. If Uehara is in danger, Pain will not be exposed to Konoha now. Then he can only send a team of members. Hashiga Kikisame was a little speechless. If Uehara Naraku was in danger, what's the point of him and Uchiha Itachi going there? Are they going to give themselves up? Kisame's teeth were a little sour. His boss was too good at hiding, right? 4 years have passed. How can Pain still think that the intern in the organization is weak? Understood. Uchiha Itachi nodded indifferently. Anyway, he also wanted to take the opportunity to go back to Konoha to secretly meet Sasuke, who has become a ninja. Momochi's abuser was injured by Hatake Kakashi some time ago. That guy claimed that he would kill Hatake Kakashi and Team 7 the next time he met them. Uchiha Itachi was a little worried about his brother. After Hashiga Kikisame nodded, his eyes moved slightly and fell on Uchiha Itachi. Obviously, he knew Uchiha Itachi's thoughts. Hashiga Kikisame would not expose Uchiha Itachi. The Hidden Rain village is in the light, and the Akatsuki organization is in the dark. Under the protection of the light and the dark, Uehara Naraku crossed the border of the Land of Fire and arrived at Konoha village, where the Chunin exam was held. This was also his first time to Konoha village. Whether it was the environment or the scenery, the Hidden Leaf village, located in the richest area of the ninja world, was obviously much better than the Hidden Sand village, the Hidden Rain village, and the Hidden Mist village. The air is not bad. Uehara Naraku flew and landed on a high-rise boiler. The scenery of the entire Konoha was unobstructed by him. Under the Hokage rock was a red Hokage building. Side quest, arrive at Konoha, 1/1, quest completed, reward 100 gold coins. Side quest, find the best viewing point of Konoha in Shippuden, 1/1, quest completed, reward 500 gold coins. This kind of quest is too popular. Uehara Naraku couldn't help but clench his fingers. It is worthy of being the most popular place in Naruto. How many treasures are waiting for him to dig here? Just when Uehara was in a good mood, Bei suddenly jumped up along Uehara's footsteps and whispered, "Uehara, the ninjas from the sand village are here too." "I know." Uehara Naraku looked down at the large number of sand village ninjas. The leading ninja is still Maki. It seems that after Chiyo took over the power, Maki's status has not declined too much. Following behind Maki are still the three little guys, Gaara, Temari and Kankuro, and the rest are some insignificant people. Uehara Naraku touched his chin and chuckled. "TSK, it looks like I need to say hello to my old friend, lest he say something wrong here and delay my enjoyment of this peaceful trip." Chapter 114, The Days of Playing a Tragic Role in Konoha. On the streets of Konoha, the sand ninja team that came to participate in the Chunin exam stopped. Maki had an incredible look on his face, staring at Uehara Naraku standing on the street with his eyes wide open, his eyes full of disbelief. Uehara's appearance had changed a lot, but Maki could still recognize him from the outline of his face. The image of that arrogant boy had been engraved in his mind. It was because of him that he killed the fourth Kazekage that the sand village almost collapsed. "Long time no see, Mr. Maki." Uehara Naraku slowly walked towards Maki, leaned close to him and whispered, "What to say and what not to say. Remember to be sensible, understand? Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I will let you and the one-tailed Jinchuriki go this time." Maki's body trembled slightly, and he asked in a deep voice, "What do you want to do in Konoha?" "Of course, to participate in the Chunin exam." Uehara Naraku walked around Maki and walked in front of Gaara. Looking at the fierce red-haired boy, he reached out and touched Gaara's hair. Kanjuro's face suddenly changed, fearing that Gaara would go berserk here. His sister panicked and said, "No." In the past 4 years, Gaara's temper has become more and more irritable. Even though Kanjuro and Temari are Gaara's relatives, they will inevitably be afraid of their brother, fearing that Gaara will kill people. However, Gaara did not move at all. Yellow sand gradually leaked out from the good behind Gaara, slowly appearing to block Uehara Naraku's palm. Bang! The yellow sand was scattered by Uehara and fell on Gaara. Uehara Naraku gently patted the yellow sand on Gaara's body and whispered, "Little guy, if you are also here to participate in the Chunin exam, then we are opponents. I hope you don't run away too quickly this time." Gaara raised his head with a gloomy look, stared into Uehara Naraku's eyes, and said coldly, "Let go of your dirty hands. Then why don't you kill me now?" Uehara Naraku held his head and smiled softly, "Because you know that you are weak and can't match me at all, right? Sooner or later I will kill you." Gaara gritted his teeth. "Then you have to be careful." Uehara Naraku patted Gaara's head and continued with a smile, "Death is allowed in the Chunin exam. Come on, Gaara." Gaara looked at Uehara Naraku with a gloomy face as he left. Although Gaara became more and more bloodthirsty and cruel, he still had a little self-knowledge. Even the one-tailed Shukaku, who attacked with all his strength, was hung up and beaten by Uehara Naraku, not to mention that his current strength is not particularly strong. This Chunin exam has not even started yet, but it has already been overshadowed. Is that guy a ninja from the Hidden Rain village? Kankuro looked at Uehara's departing back with displeasure on his face and was about to take off the crow puppet on his back, but was stopped by Maki. Temari's expression was also a little serious and she said, "That guy is too arrogant. Can he be very strong? That bastard." Gaara's body gradually began to tremble, and the veins on his face gradually revealed themselves. His eyes gradually revealed a madness. Very, very strong. Maki's face showed a trace of worry. He shook his head and said, "You guys go to the hotel first. I will go and discuss with others and report to Chiyo-sama." I didn't expect that this Chunin exam would actually attract a ninja like Uehara Naraku to participate. Are the people of Konohagakure crazy? A person who can kill the fourth Kazekage was actually allowed to participate in the Chunin exam. It couldn't be more ridiculous. However, when Maki reported to Chiyo and Ibizo of Sand Village, Ibizo thought that there was no big problem with this matter, and everything still took priority over the plan for the Chunin exam. As for the possibility that the guy named Uehara Naraku would massacre in the Chunin exam, Ibizo knew very well that Konoha would never allow such a thing to happen. If it really happened, it would just turn the Hidden Rain village and Konoha against each other. In addition to Maki, someone in Konoha also discovered Uehara Naraku. In fact, apart from him, no one would care that there was a guy named Uehara Naraku on the list of genin sent by the Hidden Rain Village to participate in the Chunin exam. It was Kakashi Hatake, the instructor of Team 7. Ichiraku Ramen. Uehara Naraku drank very happily. Now Uehara is in a very good mood. It is always so simple to do tasks in Konoha, and these tasks are so easy to complete. Drinking a bowl of ramen has task rewards. If there was no Kakashi Hatake next to him, he would probably be happier. Sitting next to Uehara Naraku, holding a glass of water, Hatake Kakashi asked, "So you are a ninja from the Hidden Rain Village? It seems that Obito has been hiding in the Hidden Rain Village since the end of the Ninja World War, right?" They had met before in the Hidden Mist Village. At that time, Hatake Kakashi learned from Uehara Naraku that Uchiha Obito had been hiding in a small ninja village, competing with Uehara Naraku for the position of the leader's successor. It was a pity that Kakashi did not expect that Uchiha Obito was hiding in the Hidden Rain Village and was under the command of the ninja demigod Hanzo. He defected after his identity was exposed. Uehara Naraku put down his bowl, picked up the ramen in the bowl slowly with chopsticks, and said softly, "I don't know anything about what happened later. Mr. Kakashi doesn't need to ask me. Now I can't wait to cut your Konoha's S-level rebel ninja into pieces." Let's not talk about this. Hatake Kakashi frowned, clenched the water cup in his hand, turned around and talked about another thing. "I met two people during the mission in the Land of Waves." When saying this, Hatake Kakashi's eyes were fixed on Uehara Naraku's movements, and his voice gradually became solemn. "It just so happened that before that, I had also met them, and saw with my own eyes that they obeyed your orders." Hatake Kakashi was talking about Maingetsu Hazuki and Zabuza Momochi. Obviously, during the mission in the Land of Waves, these two people caused him and Team 7 a lot of trouble. If it weren't for the lightning ninjutsu that happened to restrain Maingetsu Hazuki's water transformation technique, I'm afraid that Team 7 would have to be explained in the Land of Waves. They are not us, the Hidden Rain Ninja. Uehara Naraku shook his head, his face a little angry, and said, "Why don't you ask your S-rank rebel ninja? Ask Uchiha Obito what he did." They defected to Obito? Hatake Kakashi almost crushed his water cup. He probably guessed why Uehara Naraku was so angry from what he said. "Well, your Konoha's Uchiha Obito is really awesome." Uehara Naraku turned his head and looked at Hatake Kakashi, saying with a smile, "Thanks to that Uchiha Obito, our losses are very heavy. The years of hard work of the Hidden Rain Village were stolen by him and wasted." Hatake Kakashi looked a little embarrassed. He was probably sure of his thoughts and just forced an explanation. "The two children you abducted from the Hidden Mist Village, haven't they joined your Hidden Rain Village? Kimimaro and Haku are not Hidden Mist ninjas. They are homeless children from the Land of Water." Uehara Naraku shook his head, and after explaining seriously, he looked at Hatake Kakashi with a little sarcasm and said, "Uchiha Obito must be a spy of your Konoha. After all, if our Hidden Rain Village becomes strong, Konoha's situation will not be very good, right? Now he has caused our Hidden Rain Village to suffer heavy losses. Your Konoha high-level officials must be very satisfied." "How could that be? Konoha and the Hidden Rain Village have a peace covenant." Hatake Kakashi's eyes were subtle, but he suddenly thought of something. He stared at Uehara Naraku's face and said, "Is your purpose of participating in this Chunin exam to promote the strength of the Hidden Rain Village?" Hatake Kakashi had witnessed Uehara Naraku's strength with his own eyes. When this guy was 12 years old, he killed a group of Jonin and Chunin in the Land of Water like slaughtering chickens and dogs. With Uehara Naraku's strength, why would he need to participate in the Chunin exam? Yes. Uehara Naraku took this opportunity to directly explain his purpose of participating in the Chunin exam. Because the loss caused by Uchiha Obito's defection was too great, the situation in our village is not very good, and Lord Hanzo is worried about the covetousness of our neighboring countries. Since I graduated, I have been the secret weapon prepared for the Chunin exam, an arms race, and now I can only come here to participate in the games of these little devils." Listening to Uehara Naraku's words, he felt a little lost. A feeling of hero frustration arose spontaneously, and Hatake Kakashi couldn't help but sigh at the difficulty of small and medium-sized ninja villages to survive. If Uehara Naraku was a Konoha ninja, he would not need to prepare for the Chunin exam, and he would definitely be able to sit in the position of captain of the Anbu. However, if Uehara Naraku participated in the Chunin exam, it seemed that this Chunin exam would be a little dangerous. Hatake Kakashi wanted to give up the idea of letting Team 7 participate. Hatake Kakashi sighed and said, if you come to participate, there is no need for those brats in my class to participate, so as not to cause them too much of a blow. I originally wanted to let them experience the Chunin exam. Don't. Uehara Naraku almost spit out a mouthful of water. If Team 7 did not participate in the Chunin exam because of him, what would he do with those side quests? Uehara Naraku's strength stagnated for a while, and he was just waiting to harvest the leaks of Team 7 and the 12 ninjas of Konoha. This is Konoha, and I can't do anything too dangerous. Uehara Naraku put his hand on Hatake Kakashi's shoulder, and showed a hearty smile. How about this, Mr. Kakashi, let's have a sparring match, to test my current strength. No matter whether we win or lose, I will take special care of the kids in your class, and play a good show with them. How about that? Is it unnecessary? Hatake Kakashi was simply at a loss, whether to laugh or cry. I came from afar. Uehara Naraku was very determined, and he even took the initiative to suggest, Mr. Kakashi, you can also call your friends to come, and have a sparring match together. Whether it is Hanzo Sama or the Hokage of Konoha, they are already old. In the future, the missions or exchanges between the two ninja villages will be carried out by people like us, right? I think this is a good suggestion. The old voice suddenly fell into the ears of the two. Sarutobi Hiruzen walked into Ichiraku Ramen with a pipe in his mouth, and wearing a Hokage hat. When he looked at Uehara Naraku, a kind smile of an old man slowly emerged on his face. Kakashi, won't you introduce your friend to me? Chapter 159 The Hope of the Whole Village. Hokage. When Hatake Kakashi saw the third Hokage, his eyes froze, then slowly softened. He pointed at Uehara Naraku and said, this is Mr. Uehara Naraku from the Hidden Rain Village. We met by chance once, when we were on a mission outside. Huh. So unfamiliar? Uehara Naraku put his arm around Hatake Kakashi's shoulder, and said with some dissatisfaction on his face, I have told you a lot of information for free. Do you treat your old friend like this? Hatake Kakashi could not help but smile bitterly. How could this ninja named Uehara Naraku be so familiar? Sarutobi Hiruzen and Hatake Kakashi were in different moods. He already knew that Uehara Naraku wanted to participate in the Chunin exam. It was just a small ninja village that wanted to promote the genius of the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little relieved. As long as there was no big trouble in this joint Chunin exam, it didn't matter. What made Sarutobi Hiruzen feel that it was even more rewarding was that the way Uehara Naraku and Hatake Kakashi got along with each other seemed to be somewhat unconventional. According to Sarutobi Hiruzen's observation, this Omega-Cure ninja named Uehara Naraku seemed to have a good impression of their Konoha. A genius Omega-Cure ninja who has a good impression of Konoha, if he can inherit the position of leader of Omega-Cure in the future, it would be the best for Konoha. When thinking of this, the smile on Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face became more intense. Welcome to Konoha. What do you think of the scenery of our village? It's beautiful, a scenery I have never seen before. Uehara Naraku's words were half true and half false, because it was the first time he saw the scenery that he had seen countless times in the animation, and he could complete the side quest by looking at the scenery. Sarutobi Hiruzen asked knowingly, are you the Jonin leading the team of Uion Village in the Chunin exam this time? I've heard that a genius ninja has emerged from Uion Village. Well, I'm just a genin. Uehara Naraku showed an embarrassed expression at the right time, and you have to participate in the Chunin exam held by Konoha before you can be promoted to Chunin. Real strong people are often not distinguished by their positions. Sarutobi Hiruzen still smiled very kindly. There are some very powerful genin in our village. In fact, their strength is comparable to that of Jonin. This sentence is indeed true. The title of Konoha genin is really not something that everyone can do. Not to mention Meruboshi Kosuke and Might Day who died in the battle. Just the current Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. Their future achievements are simply too scary. Uehara Naraku smiled and did not respond. Instead, he said softly, yes, I just didn't expect that the third Hokage is as approachable as the rumors say. Ha 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 ha. Sarutobi Hiruzen was getting more and more satisfied with Uehara Naraku. He winked at Kakashi seriously and said softly, Kakashi, since your friend is here, take him around the village. Yes, Hokage. Hatake Kakashi nodded and watched Sarutobi Hiruzen's back go away. After the old man left, Hatake Kakashi stopped mentioning Uehara Naraku's previous proposal for a sparring match and quietly changed the subject. You have changed a lot. A few years ago in the Land of Water, you suspected that I coveted the treasures of your ninja village and told me to get out of here. I was young and frivolous at that time. Uehara Naraku sighed and said with some nostalgia, sometimes when you experience a lot, you have to become smooth. And I really think that the friendship between Konoha and the Hidden Rain village is beneficial to both of our countries. Hatake Kakashi nodded and actually sympathized with Uehara Naraku. Peace is hard won, and it really needs everyone to cherish it. After all, when he was in the Land of Water, Uehara Naraku was so arrogant that he unscrupulously commanded a group of rebellious ninjas from the Hidden Mist village to besiege Orochimaru, and waved his hand to let the Konoha ninja get out. But I didn't expect that in just a few years, the years would smooth out the edges. But for Konoha, this is also a good thing. Only by truly possessing the heart of a fearless strong man and not fearing any difficulties and dangers can one become stronger. In Hatake Kakashi's opinion, Uehara Naraku is actually squandering his talent. Soon his strength will reach the upper limit and he will be lost among many ordinary ninjas. Hand-beating boss, the money is on the table. Uehara Naraku shouted, took out a detonating talisman, and pressed it on the table, and was about to pull Hatake Kakashi away. I heard that Konoha has a lot of delicious food, take me to see it. For example, 3-color meatballs, sweet chestnut juice, etc. These are ordinary foods, but they have a meaning. When Hatake Kakashi was about to leave obediently, he saw the detonating talisman left by Uehara Naraku, which scared him so much that his eyelids jumped. What do you mean by leaving a detonating talisman here? Do you want to destroy this store? I'm used to it. Uehara Naraku searched his body and looked at Hatake Kakashi again with a somewhat innocent look. I never bring money when I go out. I always spend my teammates' money, usually detonating talismans. Did Mr. Kakashi bring money? Because Zianan was very strict in his education, Uehara is absolutely not allowed to touch any of the 3 forbidden things of Konoha, even though Uehara Naraku is the accountant of the Hidden Rain village and does not have much pocket money. Hiss. Hatake Kakashi looked at Uehara Naraku with a complicated expression, threw down a banknote, and sighed. I seriously suspect that you are here to eat for free. If I remember correctly, you took the initiative to deliver it to my door, right? Uehara Naraku winked and said, let's go. Take me to Shueisha to have a look. And by the way, help me pay for a set of books. Then we will go to compete. What books? A set of sacred books circulated among ninjas. Uehara Naraku sneaked up to Hatake Kakashi, suppressed his smile, and said beside Kakashi, in timid paradise, have you heard of this set of books? Hatake Kakashi's eyes became more and more weird. He now wanted to show off the signed collector's edition he owned, and then take Uehara Naraku to buy the regular edition. Just looking at Uehara Naraku's still immature face, Hatake Kakashi frowned and said, are you 18 years old this year? 16. Minors are not allowed to read romance books. Hatake Kakashi stopped Uehara Naraku's idea with a sense of propriety and gave his own example. On my 18th birthday, I received a gift from Master Jiraiya. The limited signed collector's edition of In Timid Paradise in Kakashi's hand was the birthday gift from Jiraiya. Uehara Naraku sighed. Is there really no way to negotiate? This book is very difficult to buy. If I can't buy it in Konoha, I don't know when I can buy it. No way. Hatake Kakashi pulled his mask and whispered, maybe when you are 18 years old, I can help you apply for a set of Jiraiya's signed edition. TSK. Uehara Naraku sighed. If nothing unexpected happens, he may really have a chance to meet Jiraiya in this Chunin exam. Okay. Uehara Naraku patted Kakashi's shoulder and touched his chin. We have seen enough of Konoha's scenery. Let's go meet some of the kids in your class and let them get to know me as their opponent in advance. Hearing Uehara Naraku's words, Hatake Kakashi looked unhappy and shook his head to refuse Uehara Naraku. Let's wait until you take the exam to prevent them from seeing you in advance and losing confidence in participating in the Chunin exam. Uehara Naraku is too strong. What if Uchiha Sasuke, the strongest member of Team 7, wants to challenge Uehara Naraku when he sees him, but ends up getting beaten to a pulp? Team 7 probably won't have the confidence to participate in the Chunin exam. I don't have much confidence, actually. Uehara Naraku held the back of his head with his hands and sighed quietly. This Chunin exam should be the largest in recent years, right? The hope of the whole village is on me. I hope I can get good results in the Chunin exam. Don't play the pity. Hatake Kakashi couldn't help but support his forehead protector and said, although there may be many interesting newcomers in this Chunin exam, no matter how strong they are, they may not be able to defeat a monster like you. 4 years ago, after Karen and I left, I estimated the battle between me and you, and even my chances of defeating you are pitifully small. Impossible. Uehara Naraku shook his head quickly and analyzed seriously. The probability of you wanting to defeat me is at least 50%, right? You are really rude. Hatake Kakashi couldn't help but tremble at the corner of his eyes. It must be said that Uehara Naraku's liveliness easily makes people feel close to him, and Hatake Kakashi slowly reduced a little of his vigilance against Uehara Naraku. Facing a harmless opponent like Uehara Naraku, Hatake Kakashi made up his mind and let the 3 little guys in his class experience the horror of the Chunin exam. But after the 2 of them chatted for a day and separated in the evening, Uehara Naraku looked at Hatake Kakashi's leaving figure and raised his lips slightly. Kakashi is too vigilant. If you want to contact Uzumaki Naruto, you can only wait until the Chunin exam. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116. Is that me, the Uehara Naraku you know? The night gradually deepened. The lights in the Hokage's office were always on. Sarutobi Hiruzen sat on a chair, smoking a pipe, and looked at Hatake Kakashi, who was kneeling on one knee in front of him, and said, Kakashi, how much information have you found out about the Rain Ninja? A lot. This person is still too young after all. Hatake Kakashi nodded and said in a deep voice, according to the information I analyzed myself, the civil war in the Hidden Rain village must have caused a great weakening, causing them to have no choice but to send Uehara Naraku to participate in an arms race of the level of the Chunin exam. After saying that, Kakashi added, there is no doubt that Uehara Naraku is very powerful. 4 years ago, I saw him kill a border post of the Hidden Mist village by himself. What about his personal inclinations? Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his cigarette. The border of the Rain Country is connected to the Wind Country, the Fire Country, and the Earth Country. The attitude of the Hidden Rain village determines whether Konoha can maintain its defensive advantage on the northwest border. If there is a chance, Sarutobi Hiruzen will not mind supporting a leader of the Hidden Rain village who is inclined to form an alliance with Konoha. Today, Sarutobi Hiruzen secretly heard what Uehara Naraku said. The age of the Salamander Hanzo is indeed very old, and the next generation of the leader of the Hidden Rain village is also imminent. It's hard to say. Hatake Kakashi shook his head and explained aloud, although from the current point of view, Uehara Naraku has a good impression of Konoha, but before, Orochimaru and Obito should have done indelible harm to the Hidden Rain village. Those 2 guys are both rebels from their Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Hatake Kakashi and said slowly, it doesn't matter. We can fight against the rebels together with the Hidden Rain village. What he said today is right. Our generation is old after all, and the future will be handed over to you young people. Hatake Kakashi lowered his head and did not answer. Sarutobi Hiruzen has been in charge of Konoha for about 40 years. He is already 69 years old this year, but the candidate for the 5th Hokage has not yet been determined. If the remaining 2 of the 3 ninjas of Konoha come back, they will be the most suitable candidates. If they are unwilling to come back, Konoha will not be able to pick out a few ninjas who can convince the public, and even the major ninja clans cannot be dealt with, unless the tallest one among the short ones is picked out, and a Sarutobi Asuma is picked out directly. After all, Sarutobi Asuma's disciples are the 3 major ninja clans of Ino, Shika and Chao, which is normal. In the Warring States period, the Sarutobi clan and the Ino, Shika and Chao clans were allies. You go down first. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned around slowly, stood at the window of the Hokage's office, and whispered, "By the way, Kakashi, help me find the Jonin Marusika from the village." "Yes." Hatake Kakashi left the Hokage's office. The next day, Uehara Naraku left all the messy things to Hattori Hirakawa, Shiro and Kaguya Kimimaro, and wandered around Konoha village, intending to meet some prominent figures. Unexpectedly, when Uehara Naraku opened the display of the destiny skill, he found that the guiding Jonin of Konoha today seemed to be having a small meeting. It really doesn't give me a chance at all. In this case, Uehara Naraku can only wait until the Chunin exam officially begins before he can start to reap his rewards. In just 2 days, Uehara Naraku's harvest is not small. Originally, he had worked hard to save up 2,700 gold coins in the Hidden Rain village. In Konoha village, he just looked at the scenery, drank some ramen, ate a few 3-color meatballs, and other ordinary tasks, but he actually harvested about 1,500 gold coins. Moreover, the tasks of Ichiraku ramen are very outrageous. For example, in the Big Eater task, Uehara Naraku drank 12 bowls of ramen with all his strength, and obtained 600 life energy given by the system. This reward made Uehara regret it. If I had known that a bowl of ramen in the Big Eater challenge would reward 50 life energy points, Uehara Naraku would have eaten more bowls. Damn, eating noodles can really make you stronger. Konoha is really outrageous. If calculated by difficulty, the Hidden Rain village is a doomsday human machine game, and Konoha is a simple human machine game. It is worthy of being the home of ninjas. Moreover, as the host of the Chunin exam, Konoha sent as many as 75 people to participate in this Chunin exam, which is more than the total number of other ninja villages. Uehara Naraku didn't know that this number was one more team than the number of people Konoha village was supposed to participate. After Konoha confirmed the list of Chunin exams and all the ninja villages participating in the exams were present, the Chunin exams officially kicked off. When Uehara Naraku rushed to the examination room assembly point with Kaguya Kimimaro and Shiro, all the genin who participated in the Chunin exams gathered here. As expected by Uehara Naraku, the 9 new genin who graduated from Konoha village this year also participated in the exam. Team 7, Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, Daruno Sakura. Team 8, Inozuka Kiba, Aburame Shino, Hyuga Hinata. Team 10, Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Choji, Yamana Kurino. Perhaps it was their first time to participate in the Chunin exam. These newcomers were talking to a senior, as if they wanted to get some information from the senior. From their exclamations, it was obvious that they got a lot of information. It just so happened that Uehara Naraku also knew the so-called senior, and he was also one of the leaks that Uehara was about to harvest. Orochimaru's spy, Kabuto Yakushi. After Orochimaru and Kabuto Yakushi escaped from Uehara Naraku, he arranged for Kabuto Yakushi to sneak into Konoha, participate in the Chunin exam every year, and collect some talented ninjas. Senior Kabuto. The pink-haired girl Hiruno Sakura suddenly said, "I want to ask for information about another person. He should be a genin from the Hidden Rain village. His name is Uehara Naraku." Hearing the name of Uehara Naraku, Kabuto Yakushi stopped what he was doing involuntarily and pushed his glasses subconsciously. Kabuto Yakushi hadn't heard this name for a long time. Whether it was him or Orochimaru, they had tacitly not mentioned the name of Uehara Naraku. That time, the two of them were defeated too badly. Kabuto Yakushi lowered his head, not wanting people to see the expression on his face. "How do you know this name?" Teacher Kakashi mentioned it. Hiruno Sakura frowned. The name of this Hidden Rain village genin was specifically told to them by Hatake Kakashi, who specifically reminded them to be careful and cautious. Even if Hatake Kakashi thought that Uehara Naraku would not kill him, it was inevitable that these little guys didn't know their place. Uchiha Sasuke stood beside Hiruno Sakura and said coldly, "It just so happens that I'm also a little curious about this person's information. After all, even Kakashi Sensei thinks that he is the strongest opponent we will face in this Chunin exam. Your instructor Jonin is right." Kabuto Yakushi's voice was a little obscure and low, and his fingers gradually became stiff. "If it is the person I know, he should be able to easily kill everyone present." What a joke. Uchiha Sasuke immediately looked unhappy. Even if the guy Kakashi mentioned was more powerful, could he kill hundreds of genin by himself? However, after listening to Kabuto Yakashi's words, the faces of a bunch of newcomers such as Hiruno Sakura, Uzumaki Naruto, Yamana Karino and Narashikamaru became more and more solemn. You don't have to worry, maybe it's just a coincidence. After saying that, Kabuto Yakashi slowly raised his head and looked at the assembly field of the Chunin exam to see if there was any trace of Uehara Naraku here. When Kabuto Yakashi found that Uehara Naraku was not in the examination room, he felt a little relieved. Maybe it was just a coincidence. Ta-da-da. A sound of footsteps fell into Kabuto Yakashi's ears. The group of Konoha newcomers raised their heads involuntarily, staring blankly at a young ninja wearing a Rengakure forehead protector standing behind Kabuto Yakashi. Uehara Naraku looked down at Kabuto Yakashi on the ground and chuckled. Kabuto, turn around and look at the Uehara Naraku you know. Is it me? Chapter 117 Two people who disdained the examination room. Kabuto Yakashi didn't need to look, because his body couldn't help but feel a sense of crisis. The chakra in his body would not lie. The person behind him was Uehara Naraku. Kabuto Yakashi's face was covered with cold sweat, and he whispered, I didn't expect that Lord Naraku would also participate in this Chunin exam. This guy. Kabuto Yakashi still remembers the tragic defeat of Naraku Uehara's summoned beast. It only took half a minute to defeat them instantly. Later, Lord Orochimaru mentioned that Naraku Uehara was the hidden monster among the monsters of the Akatsuki organization. Absolutely, cannot be easily provoked. The hidden rain village is too boring, so I want to come out and take a look. Naraku Uehara squatted down and casually uncovered a ninja scroll on the ground. He couldn't help but chuckled and said, why, don't you have any information about me here? Am I not worth wasting a ninja scroll? No. Kabuto Yakashi's somewhat nervous mood slowly recovered. His years of spy career made his psychological quality very good, and he had his own way of dealing with any crisis. Uehara Naraku came to Konoha to participate in the Chunin exam, and it is definitely impossible for him to kill people on the spot, which means that the crisis has not arrived. Yakashi Kabuto breathed a sigh of relief and whispered, Lord Naraku is too powerful, and the ninja scroll is not worthy of recording your information. You are still so funny. Uehara Naraku finally couldn't help laughing. Uchiha Sasuke listened to their conversation and felt a little unhappy, and it showed on his face. You are Uehara Naraku? But you are just a genin from the hidden rain village. Uehara Naraku looked at Uchiha Sasuke talking nonsense and secretly made a note of him in his heart. Sooner or later, Uchiha Itachi will pay for the debt owed by his brother. The next moment, someone suddenly appeared behind Sasuke. Kaguya Kimimaro pinched Sasuke's throat with one hand, and his movements were so fast that the people next to him couldn't see clearly. So fast. Uzumaki Naruto exclaimed beside him, then realized that his teammate was restrained, and immediately flew over. Hurry up and let Sasuke go. Hiss. It's so cold. Uzumaki Naruto slowly lowered his head, but a ball of ice appeared under his feet, freezing his feet, making it impossible for him to support Sasuke. Let them go. Uehara Naraku waved his hand, looking at the newcomers of Konoha village, with a smile on his lips. The Chunin exam is still a long time away, then we can have fun with them, but the next time we meet, if you are not careful, you will lose your life. Bastard. Uchiha Sasuke's face suddenly became furious. Just when Sasuke was about to rush forward, an agile old man stopped Sasuke's action and gently persuaded him, okay, don't make trouble anymore. The first Chunin exam is about to start. If you make trouble again, you will be expelled from the examination room. Yes, we know. Hiruno Sakura hurriedly pulled Sasuke away. She was a little worried that Sasuke would suffer. The others also dispersed to avoid any more trouble. If they were kicked out of the examination room without taking the first exam, it would be a waste of opportunity. But when they dispersed, Inosuke Kiba was a little curious and asked, isn't that old man here to take the Chunin exam as well? Uzumaki Naruto also secretly glanced at the old man who was confronting Uehara Naraku, and said in a way that was hard to describe, can an old man also take the Chunin exam? He has taken the exam for so long and still hasn't passed. How difficult will the Chunin exam be? The innocent words of the young man added a touch of embarrassment to the air. The genin at the exam gathering point heard what Uzumaki Naruto said and looked at the old and short old man. For a moment, the whole examination room burst into laughter. Only Uehara Naraku didn't laugh. There was not even a trace of happiness on his face. Because the old man's name was Meriboshi Kasuke, a 10,000-year-old genin of Konoha, and a person who should never be underestimated. According to common sense, Kasuke should not take the Chunin exam. Meriboshi Kasuke must want to be a genin for life. If he wants to be promoted, he can be promoted to John indirectly. Why does he need to take the Chunin exam? At least Sarutobi Hiruzen once promoted him, but he was rejected. As a result, Meriboshi Kasuke is now taking the Chunin exam as an elderly genin. It would be strange if there is no problem. He must be sent by Sarutobi Hiruzen to protect the genin of Konoha, right? This is a bit shameless. Outside the door of the gathering point, Hatake Kakashi listened to the gradual quietness inside and felt a little relieved. Did the Sandaime arrange Senior Kasuke to take this exam? I really shouldn't say whether the luck of these little guys is too good or too bad. After a while, as time went on, when the genin and the gathering point gradually began to lose control of their temper, a man with a hideous scar on his face walked in. Sorry for the wait, everyone. The man with the hideous scar nodded slightly and said in a deep voice, I'm the examiner of the first Chunin exam, Marino Ibiki. The commotion of the genin finally stopped. One by one, they walked into the examination room in a line. The first round of the Chunin exam is a written test. In name, it is to test the knowledge of the ninja, but in fact, it is to test the ability of the ninja to detect intelligence. Coincidentally, the person sitting next to Uehara Naraku was Meriboshi Kasuke. Uehara felt that the old man seemed to have come here to keep an eye on him. Bei walked to Uehara Naraku's seat, holding a glass of juice, and placed it on his table. Mr. Naraku, it has been frozen for you. Uehara Naraku picked it up and pointed to the old man next to him and said, Bei, give this old man a glass as well. Yes. Another glass of juice was placed on Meriboshi Kasuke's table. Thank you. The old genin reached out his hand tremblingly and grabbed the juice. He squinted his eyes and watched Bei leave. Ice release Kekari? I haven't seen it for a long time. It's really a waste of resources to just use it to chill juice. Uehara Naraku took a sip of the juice and looked at Kasuke holding the cup unsteadily. He was in a bad mood. Why is it that wherever he goes, there are people competing with him for the best actor? Meriboshi Kasuke is different from others. He has been pretending to be a genin all his life and is also a real old actor. The written test process was not very dramatic. A group of ninjas showed their magical powers and tried every means to get the answers from the test takers' papers. The examination room was full of cheaters. While other ninjas were writing and answering questions, Uehara Naraku and Meriboshi Kasuke were drinking juice slowly without even looking at the papers. Slurp, 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 slurp. When some ninjas were disqualified from the exam and kicked out of the exam room because of cheating, Uehara Naraku and Meriboshi Kasuke were still sipping at the glass of juice. In fact, there was only a little juice left, and the glass was almost empty, but the two were still competing with each other. Slurp, 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 slurp. After seeing this scene, the muscles on Marino Ibika's face twitched constantly. He was about to explode with the style of the two people. How dare someone despise the Chunin exam in front of him? Is this a provocation to him? Seeing that other genin were influenced by them, Marino Ibiki finally couldn't help throwing two shurikens at Uehara Naraku and Meriboshi Kasuke's cups. Whoosh! Uehara Naraku and Meriboshi Kasuke stretched out their fingers almost at the same time and caught Marino Ibiki's shurikens as easily as if they had caught a ball of paper. Marino Ibiki was angry and anxious. If it weren't for the order of the third Hokage, he would definitely kick them out right now. The final test of this written test is fearless courage. As long as you insist on taking the test under the interrogation and coercion of the examiner, you can pass the written test directly. Answering questions is not that important. Uehara Naraku and Meriboshi Kasuke, who were sitting on the Dioite, sat in their seats without saying a word, watching Marino Ibiki's performance, as if they were watching a monkey show. In this written test, two people passed with a blank paper. They could actually answer the questions and cheat, but there was no need. No, it should be said that three people passed with a blank paper. In addition to Uehara Naraku and Meriboshi Kasuke, who had been drinking juice slowly, there was also Uzumaki Naruto who wanted to answer the questions but couldn't, and wanted to cheat but couldn't. After the exam, Marino Ibuki's temper finally lost control. He said in a deep voice, "Some people got through this time by luck, but when you become a Chunin captain and steal intelligence in the future, you will regret what you did today." Uehara Naraku said slowly, "As long as you kill all the enemies who protect the intelligence, you can naturally get the intelligence. I can beat 10 enemies like the examiner. This method may not be right." Maruboshi Kosuke nodded carefully and added, "The methods of the strong are not suitable for the weak. Everything should be based on the mission and the safety of teammates. But like the examiner, I'm old and can only beat 9. Marino Ibuki really wanted to beat someone after hearing this. Fortunately, he was only responsible for the first exam. Anyway, in the second exam, these two guys would have no way to cheat by tricks. Maruboshi Kosuke turned his head and looked at Uehara Naraku and said, "If I remember correctly, the second round of the Chunin exam should be a 5-day battle for the Heaven and Earth Scroll, which involves survival exercises. Do you want to join me? My cooking skills are not bad. No, I don't have such high requirements for food." Uehara Naraku shook his head. Maruboshi Kosuke was indeed responsible for monitoring him. Now that he knew this, how could Uehara Naraku still be willing to join Maruboshi Kosuke? Chapter 118 Handao, the Idiot. 10th update. Please subscribe. It smells so good. Uehara Naraku and Maruboshi Kosuke sat around a large iron pot, each holding a bowl and chopsticks, to eat the cooked food inside, attracting the attention of the people around them. A genin teacher and a young genin, who obviously don't seem to have any ability, are so arrogant, which is really against common sense. Maruboshi Kosuke is also helpless. Because of a mistake he made many years ago, Kosuke only wanted to be a genin for life, but this time it came from the order and request of his old friend and immediate boss Sarutobi Hirozen, and Maruboshi Kosuke had no choice but to follow the order to monitor Uehara. And in the face of Uehara Naraku's provocation from time to time, Maruboshi Kosuke could only show his strength, hoping that he could restrain himself. "Are you really not going to team up with me?" After the two finished eating together, Maruboshi Kosuke cleaned up the cooking utensils and explained softly, "Although temporary teams are prohibited in the Chunin exam, there are no particularly rigid rules. After all, the final results still depend on the scrolls obtained by each team. The second rule of the Chunin exam is to snatch the scroll of heaven and earth. Each team will be issued a scroll of heaven or a scroll of earth, and if they want to pass the level, they must collect both scrolls of heaven and earth, and then reach the Tower of the Death Forest, to be allowed to pass. Now there are about 20 teams that have passed the Chunin exam this time, which means that at least half of the teams will be eliminated." Uehara Naraku shook his head firmly and said, "My teammates don't want to be followed by an old man, and Bei's craftsmanship is also very good." "Really?" Maruboshi Kosuke could only sigh and leave here. After a while, Kaguya Kimimaro and Bei came back with the scrolls. Uehara Naraku didn't care, but just asked Bei to put the scroll away. "Naraku-sama." Yakushi Kabuto suddenly came over, pushed his glasses, and said respectfully, "What scroll does Naraku-sama need?" "We got the scroll of heaven." The scroll was delivered to the door before the game started. Uehara Naraku looked at Yakushi Kabuto speechlessly, waved his hand and said, "I prefer to get what I want in person." "Is that so?" Yakushi Kabuto sighed, shook his head and said, "That's a pity. These little guys will probably have to go through a nightmare like Chunin exam, right? I hope they won't lose confidence from now on." "Humph, they will definitely have a nightmare. After all, a guy who owes me something has sneaked into this exam room, right?" Uehara Naraku quietly opened the display panel of fate, and the avatar of Orochimaru was standing near them. Yakushi Kabuto pushed his glasses and said, "This? I don't know." "Then tell that person." Uehara Naraku's figure flashed, and suddenly appeared in front of Yakushi Kabuto, tightly grasping his collar. "You must pay back what you owe to others immediately, otherwise interest will be incurred." "Yes." Yakushi Kabuto's forehead was covered with sweat. The murderous aura that came from Uehara Naraku just now scared him. Uehara Naraku frowned, unable to tell whether Kabuto Yakushi was acting or was really scared. After all, this guy was an old spy. Uehara thought for a while, then threw Kabuto Yakushi to the ground. "Hey, you two, private fighting is prohibited here." A female ninja saw the movement here and rushed over quickly, looking up at Uehara Naraku and said, if you want to fight privately or even kill people, just enter the death forest and solve it yourself. After that, a cruel smile slowly appeared on the face of the female ninja. But if you make trouble here, I will cut you into pieces. Do you understand? Genin Devils. This female ninja was the examiner of the second exam, Mitara Shianko. Understand. Uehara Naraku looked at Mitara Shianko, who still had a childlike face, nodded and bowed. But before, this guy had been provoking me, and I really couldn't help it. Is that so? Mitara Shianko looked at Kabuto Yakushi with an unhappy face. After taking a look at Uehara Naraku, Kabuto Yakushi nodded and said, that's what he said. He was really full of grievances and had no place to speak. If he couldn't beat Uehara Naraku, Kabuto Yakushi wanted to twist Uehara Naraku's head off to see why his brain was so shameless. Humph, if you want to provoke your opponent, save your words. When the battle begins, it doesn't matter if you fight privately or even kill people. After a snort, Mitara Shianko grinned, showing a sweet smile to Uehara Naraku and Kabuto Yakushi, saying, but don't die in there easily. I like handsome boys like you very much. That's really a coincidence. The smile on Uehara Naraku's face became more intense, looking at Mitara Shianko and said, I also like sweet and cute girls like the examiner. Then do your best. Mitara Shianko patted Uehara Naraku on the shoulder and turned to leave. But when Mitara Shianko left Uehara Naraku, the smile on her face gradually became a little cruel. Another hot-blooded idiot who won't live long. The most important thing for a ninja is patience. Just now, Uehara Naraku was provoked by the enemy. Isn't he afraid of being disqualified from the Chunin exam? The look in Kabuto Yakushi's eyes gradually became a little weird. He stared at Mitara Shianko's back, and his heart was full of doubts. Was that woman really Orochimaru's disciple? Why does she look so stupid? She actually believed in Uehara Naraku. Orochimaru was also hiding in the corner, observing the movements here. He gently pressed down his bamboo hat, and couldn't help but curse inwardly. Red Bean, that idiot. Sure enough, he was right to give up Mitara Shianko at the beginning. He didn't see through the devilish nature of Uehara Naraku. But he had to be doubly careful with his plan for the Chunin exam this time, and he had to find a way for Kabuto Yakushi to test Uehara Naraku's purpose. Mitara Shianko didn't notice the hateful eyes. She looked at the watch on her wrist and shouted, all genin, rush to your entrance immediately and wait for the exam to officially begin. When Uehara Naraku led Kaguya Kimimaro and Haku to their entrance, they happened to meet the oncoming Team 7. When they passed by, Uchiha Sasuke suddenly said, hey, the one called Uehara Naraku, don't die easily in there, I will challenge you. Hatake Kakashi specifically reminded not to provoke Uehara Naraku for no reason, but Uchiha Sasuke planned to treat Uehara Naraku as a challenge. Anyway, he has a lot of opponents to challenge. The stronger the opponent, the more help he can get. Hearing Sasuke's words, Uehara Naraku couldn't help but bend the corners of his mouth, revealing a kind smile. Oh. Welcome. If you can defeat me, as a reward for you, I can tell you some information about Uchiha Itachi. Chapter 119. The first batch of leeks has been harvested, and even dogs cannot be spared. Wait. Uchiha Sasuke called out to Uehara Naraku. The original confidence and arrogance on Sasuke's face gradually faded, and his face became gloomy. Do you know Uchiha Itachi? Yes. Uehara Naraku narrowed his eyes and smiled. I narrowly escaped from his hands. So I have a lot of information about him. If you want to get his information, defeat me in the Forest of Death. There is nothing wrong with this sentence. After all, when Uehara Naraku first joined the Akatsuki organization, he was indeed defeated by Uchiha Itachi's Sharingan. But at that time, Uehara Naraku was a little soft, and his strength was only 1/10 of what it is now, or even less. Very good. Uchiha Sasuke clenched his fists, and his chest suddenly had a fighting spirit. He sneered at Uehara Naraku and said, since you are so cooperative, I can spare your life after I defeat you. Then look forward to our meeting again. Uehara Naraku waved his hand in a friendly manner and left with Kaguya Kimimaro and Bei. Just after parting with Team 7, Bei couldn't help but ask, Uehara, why do I feel that Itachi-senpai and his brother have very different personalities? Yeah. Kaguya Kimimaro also nodded in agreement. Kimimaro almost always agreed with everything they proposed. After nodding, Kaguya Kimimaro continued to add, Itachi-senpai is a very humble person, and he is polite to almost everyone he meets. But why does his brother always look so arrogant? Because he deserves a beating. Uehara Naraku waved his hand and said indifferently, self-righteous geniuses are always a little arrogant. After beating them up, they will become much more honest. Afternoon 2:30. The entrance to the Forest of Death opened. Uehara Naraku looked up at the forest under the sun and walked in slowly step by step. Kimimaro, Bay, you go to the tower to ambush. Before I arrive at the tower, no one is allowed to enter the tower. Just let you experience the pleasure of bullying a child. Understood. Kaguya Kimimaro and Bay nodded seriously. No matter what the task is, Bay will do it seriously. As for Kaguya Kimimaro, he will do whatever Bay asks him to do. After the two left, Uehara Naraku rubbed his palms excitedly. There are so many treasures here. Which mine should we dig first? Let fate choose. Let me see which team of little cuties is closest. Destiny. Start. Death Forest. Teammates Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka and Shinobi Urain relied on their super perception ability to set up dangerous situations. In advance through Shinobi Urain's insect manipulation technique, easily solved a team of enemies, and also gathered their scrolls of heaven and earth. Inuzuka Kiba looked at the defeated enemy team and said proudly, we have a great advantage in survival exercises. Hyuga Hinata was not used to saying arrogant words. Although her status was high enough, she looked a little inferior because she was scolded by her father since she was a child. Now she just lowered her head to her little finger. A Buraim Shino stretched out his palm, and a small black bug was trembling on it, which made him frown. Kiba, Hinata, let's go to the tower. A Buraim Shino suddenly raised his head and looked at his two teammates. My bugs told me that it will be very dangerous to stay here. The bugs in the forest are very scared. Ah, didn't we find anyone else? Inuzuka Kiba raised his head in surprise, stretched out his hand, and held his puppy in his arms. Hey, what's wrong with Akamaru? Woof. Akamaru cried nervously and shrank into Inuzuka Kiba's arms. Hinata Hyuga's face was a little nervous, and she whispered, I also feel a sense of crisis. I'll use my Byakugan to observe. Byakugan open. When Hinata Hyuga's Byakugan opened, her face changed suddenly because there was a young ninja sitting on the big tree behind them. Hinata Hyuga turned her head and looked at the big tree behind her. As expected of Konoha's Byakugan, a young ninja flew down, holding a wild fruit in his hand. He took a bite out of boredom and greeted the three children of teammate. Good afternoon, my name is Uehara Naraku, so please give me your guidance in the next 3 seconds. 3 seconds? Inuzuka Kiba's eyes were a little confused. The next moment, his eyes widened. A huge force hit Inuzuka Kiba's body, knocking him out and hitting a tree heavily. Hyuga Hinata's Byakugan had already noticed Uehara Naraku's movements, and she waved her palm and shouted loudly, Soft Fist Bagua. Snap. The Byakugan girl was also kicked away. A Buraim Shino flew to try to avoid Uehara Naraku's attack, but Uehara Naraku stretched out a palm to grab his throat and threw him to the ground neatly. 3 seconds. Just right. Uehara Naraku threw away the half-eaten wild fruit, slowly walked to Inuzuka Kiba, and stretched out his hand to take the heaven and earth scroll from his body. Akamaru bravely jumped off Inuzuka Kiba's body and opened his mouth to bark at Uehara Naraku. Woof 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 woof. Oh, I almost forgot about you. Uehara Naraku stretched out his hand to grab the puppy. Akamaru clenched his fist and was about to knock it out with a punch. Wait. Inuzuka Kiba covered his chest and said in a deep voice, Don't hurt Akamaru, we have already lost. I can give you any scroll you want. No. Uehara Naraku knocked Akamaru unconscious with a punch, threw it on Inuzuka Kiba, and took out 2 scrolls of heaven and earth from his bag. Not only will I beat your puppy, I will also take your scrolls. After saying that, Uehara Naraku grabbed the scroll and turned around and disappeared. The 3 little guys of teammate looked at each other in confusion, their eyes full of confusion and astonishment. After Inuzuka Kiba checked Akamaru's injuries, he cursed viciously, that bastard is too bad. It's okay to bully Hinata, a girl, but he didn't even let Akamaru go. Hyuga Hinata nodded subconsciously. A Buraim Shino was quite rational. He whispered, "This will make us lose our fighting power, but at least he didn't kill us. That means we still have a chance to collect scrolls again in these 5 days. We can only start over." Inozuka Kibaside struggled to stand up and said in a deep voice, "Next time we meet him, we must be careful and cautious. We must never be helpless like before." "Yeah." Hyuga Hinata rubbed her belly and nodded stiffly. On the other side, Uehara Naraku was in a good mood. The reward for defeating teammate was much higher than the reward for defeating Akatsuki. If it weren't for Konan and Nagato being so nice to him, Uehara would really regret not choosing to start in Konoha. Side quest: collect the scroll of heaven and earth for the Chunin exam. 1/1. The quest has been completed, and the reward is 300 gold coins. Side quest: defeat Inozuka Kiba. 1/1. The quest has been completed, and the reward is the skill hunting rhythm. Hunting rhythm: enter the stealth acceleration state, and can directly sense the precise position of all enemies within 2 kilometers. The duration is 20 seconds. The minimum chakra consumption is 20 points, and the cooldown time is 55 seconds. This skill is a must-have for survival in the wild. Although the detection range of destiny is very high, the chakra consumption is also very large. Even if you only continuously locate the enemy for a few minutes and observe the enemy's movements, you will consume thousands of chakra points, which is far less than the perception of hunting rhythm. After all, the chakra consumption of the hunting rhythm skill is too low, and Uehara Naraku can continue to open the perception of hunting rhythm without scruples. Not to mention that this skill also has a stealth and invisibility effect. Side quest: defeat Akamaru. 1/1. The quest has been completed, and the psychic pendant magic cat Yuumi is rewarded. Psychic contract: summon the magic cat Yuumi, consuming 1000 chakra points, and Yuumi can continue to exist by consuming 1 chakra point per second. Side quest: defeat a Burame Shino. 1/1. The quest has been completed, and the skill Void Swarm is rewarded. Void Swarm can summon a group of void spirits. Each void spirit will consume 40 chakra points. Skill cooldown time is 4 seconds. When the void swarm kills a unit, it will sacrifice the body to summon a new void spirit. The void swarm cannot be more than 10 kilometers away from the summoner. Uehara Naraku fell into deep thought. If he is stimulated and falls into madness in the future and becomes a villain who destroys the world, he can directly summon the Void Swarm and try to kill all the lives in the ninja world. I just don't know if these void spirits can resist. If they can be killed by ordinary ninjas with 3 punches and 2 kicks, it will be pure fun. After all, no matter how many ordinary ninjas there are in the ninja world, they can't withstand the meteorites summoned by Uchiha Madara. Side quest: defeat Hyuga Hinata. 1/1. The quest has been completed, and 100 gold coins are awarded. Uehara Naraku's mind is full of question marks. You're not mistaken. This is Hyuga Hinata, the super popular heroine in Naruto. How can she only be rewarded with 100 gold coins? 100 gold coins is the worst reward. Uehara Naraku couldn't help but pull up the system panel again and took a look at the tasks about Hyuga Hinata. It was a mess, which made him a little embarrassed. Is there no serious task? Uehara Naraku knocked his forehead and sighed. Forget it. Go cut other leaks first. Chapter 120. Tired teammates, likable opponents. Deep in the Death Forest, Gaara, Kankuro, and Temari from the Sand Village were moving very fast. Ordinary ninjas were no match for them, and Gaara didn't want to meet Uehara Naraku. Temari knew vaguely that Gaara might be afraid of the guy called Uehara Naraku, but she didn't dare to ask in detail, for fear of causing Gaara's anger. While searching along the Death Forest, they encountered a team of Takigakure ninjas. Gaara went on a killing spree. Sand waterfall to send you off. Balls of yellow sand mixed with blood rain flew everywhere. Once wrapped in Gaara's yellow sand, there was absolutely no chance of counterattack, and this team of Takigakure ninjas died. Pa-pa-pa-pa. A round of applause appeared in the forest. Uehara Naraku clapped his hands and appeared in the sight of Gaara and the other two, with a chuckle on his lips. Ha, you are still so weak, Gaara. What are you doing here? Gaara's face suddenly became more and more indifferent, and he manipulated the yellow sand to appear under his feet and said coldly, are you trying to seize the scroll in our hands? Gaara knew very well that his chances of winning against Uehara Naraku were very low. Even if he summoned the One Tail, the possibility of defeating Uehara Naraku was very small. Some enemies cannot be solved by bloodthirsty violence. Gaara is sometimes very rational. He knows who can be provoked and who cannot be provoked. Uehara is a ruthless man who killed the 4th Kazakage. I have collected all the scrolls. Uehara Naraku shook his head, his eyes moving slowly, looking at Kankuro, then at Temari. I'm just very interested in your brother and sister. Why don't I give you a chance? I will launch an attack in 10 seconds and see who you can protect. Humph, do whatever you want to them. Gaara snorted coldly and said nonchalantly, anyway, you have already killed Rasa. If you want to kill them, it doesn't matter. What did you say? Temari looked at her brother in disbelief. She pointed at Uehara Naraku. Gaara, is this man the murderer of our father? Humph, yes. Gaara glanced at Temari unhappily and said, Maki has been telling me not to tell you, and now you have seen it. If you want revenge, go kill that man. Anyway, I have no interest in helping Rata to avenge him. How cold-blooded. Uehara Naraku sighed, and his hand suddenly stretched out in the direction of Temari and Kankuro. Come out, Sand Soldier. A Sand Soldier suddenly appeared behind Temari. Just as the Sand Soldier's spear was extended, Temari suddenly removed the 3-star fan on her back, blocked the Sand Soldier's attack, and smashed the Sand Soldier with another blow. Unfortunately, Kanjuro was not so lucky. A Sand Soldier's spear pierced his crow puppet directly from behind, injuring his lower abdomen. Uehara Naraku's figure instantly appeared behind Kanjuro and kicked him to the side with a whip kick. The speed of these genin was pitifully slow. Kanjuro did almost nothing and fainted directly. Kankuro. Temari's face was immediately full of anxiety. She suddenly opened the huge 3-star fan. Wind style. Kametachi. Too slow. Too weak. Uehara Naraku flew into the air to avoid the wind style ninjutsu. He lowered his head and looked at Temari on the ground with a nervous expression and suddenly stretched out his palm. Secret. Duskblade. A purple chakra broadsword appeared in Uehara Naraku's hand. Temari didn't care how strong Uehara Naraku was. She just looked up at Uehara Naraku in the air. A hint of madness flashed in her eyes, and she raised the 3-star fan in her hand again. Boom. Uehara Naraku's speed was obviously faster. The purple broadsword in Uehara's hand took advantage of the momentum of falling to slash at Temari's 3-star fan, and the 15-year-old sand ninja was knocked out with one blow. Just as Uehara Naraku walked towards Temari step by step, suddenly a yellow sand wrapped around Uehara Naraku's ankle. That's about it. Gaara looked at Uehara Naraku coldly and stopped Uehara Naraku from continuing to attack Temari. You can go and kill Kankuro. Temari is still worth living. Temari raised her head drowsily, suppressing the instinct to vomit blood after her body was severely injured, and looked at her brother with complicated eyes. Gaara. Although she was a little relieved to see that Gaara was willing to protect her at the critical moment of life and death, but supporting the enemy to kill his brother Kankuro. Isn't it a bit too much? Can I understand that you want to stop me? Uehara Naraku smiled and narrowed his eyes. The next second, his figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. He rushed to Gaara with the shadow binding and punched Gaara away. Who gave you the courage, or who do you think you are? Cough. The sand armor on Gaara's body shattered instantly, and he forced a mouthful of blood to spit out. An idea popped up in his mind. Uehara Naraku's power is stronger than before. Gaara has no memory and doesn't know that Uehara's charge can directly knock down Shukaku. After Uehara Naraku knocked down Gaara, he picked up Temari's collar, knocked the woman unconscious with a punch, and slowly turned around and left the scene. Gaara stared at his back, gritted his teeth, manipulated the yellow sand to move himself to Temari's side and check Temari's injuries. After finding out that his sister was not in great danger, Gaara reluctantly breathed a sigh of relief. After a while, he pulled Kankuro to his side and cleaned out the yellow sand left in Kankuro's body after he was pierced by the sand soldiers. Fortunately, none of their team died. But Gaara didn't quite understand what Uehara Naraku was trying to do. Was he just here to beat them up and show off his strength? Unfortunately, Gaara would never be able to guess the answer. Now Uehara Naraku is checking his gains again. Side quest, defeat Temari, 1/1. Quest completed, reward skill Hurricane Howling. Hurricane howling. Release a hurricane by accumulating chakra energy, destroying everything in the hurricane's path. The skill consumes a minimum of 60 chakra points and has a cooldown of 6 seconds. Side quest. Defeat Kankuro. 1/1. Quest completed. Reward 100 gold coins. Uehara Naraku frowned immediately. He had previously defeated Gaara and was rewarded with Sand Soldier Appearance, a very useful group attack skill. He had just defeated Temari and was rewarded with Hurricane Howling. How come it was Kankuro's turn to get 100 gold coins? The difference between the three siblings is too big. It seems normal. After all, Kankuro is too weak. Uehara Naraku sighed and activated the newly acquired hunting rhythm. His figure quietly disappeared from the spot. The next team is also very weak. Will it only be rewarded with 100 gold coins? In the bushes of the Death Forest, Nera Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino and Akimichi Choji hid here. Whether it was their attitude towards things or their way of thinking, the three of them thought that they should hide in advance. After all the dangerous people left, they planned to find a team weaker than themselves. After a while, after Nera Shikamaru confirmed that it was safe outside, he turned his head to look at Akimichi Choji who was staring at him, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and nodded at him. Akimichi Choji was relieved immediately, and he picked up his potato chips contentedly and ate them happily. He was hungry. A young ninja suddenly appeared from the air, stood beside Akimichi Choji, and asked softly, "Are your potato chips delicious?" Crack, crack. Akimichi Choji nodded, while stuffing potato chips into his mouth desperately. The next moment, he suddenly reacted. This voice was a little strange. "Shikamaru, there are enemies." Hey, I know. You be quiet." Nera Shikamaru grabbed Akimichi Choji to prevent them from losing a fighting force before the official battle, and patted the frightened Yamanaka Ino to wake her up. To be honest, Nera Shikamaru was a little tired with such teammates. It's a pity that pig, deer, and butterfly have always been inseparable. This is a heritage that has been passed down since the Warring States period. Because their secret techniques are very compatible when they cooperate, it is definitely not something he can easily change. Otherwise, Nera Shikamaru wanted their good friend Uzumaki Naruto to replace Ino. After all, Ino was a troublesome woman. Compared to other genin I met, you behaved very rationally. The young ninja extended his palm to Nera Shikamaru, appearing polite. He looked at Shikamaru with admiration. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Uehara Naraku, and I'm your next opponent." Uehara Naraku really likes opponents like the Ino, Shika, and Chao trio. Chapter 121. Team 7 being spied on by two people. Nera Shikamaru's expression was very calm. However, in his heart, he had already begun to analyze the information from Uehara Naraku's mouth quickly, and to extract the information that could be used from those few words. Hiruno Sakura mentioned before the exam that Uehara Naraku was an opponent that Hatake Kakashi had specially reminded before the game not to provoke easily. Moreover, the enemy in front of him, called Uehara Naraku, must have fought with other ninjas before. Judging from his condition, he should be able to win easily. This guy was alone, and the situation when he came out was also very strange, proving that he could win by crushing a team alone. This is a very dangerous enemy. Nera Shikamaru grinned, smiled confidently at Uehara Naraku and said, "What scroll do you need? Maybe we don't need to fight. Just give up like this?" Uehara Naraku sighed with some regret. Just when Nera Shikamaru thought they could negotiate, Uehara Naraku's fist suddenly hit his lower abdomen. Uehara Naraku looked at Nera Shikamaru who fell down holding his lower abdomen, shook his head and said, "It's a pity that what I need is not a scroll, but a battle." Shikamaru. Human bomb tank. When Akimichi Choji saw Nera Shikamaru fall down, the cowardice on his face suddenly changed. A flash of fighting spirit flashed in his eyes. The whole person instantly shrank his body into a ball and rushed towards Uehara Naraku. Bang! Akimichi Choji was kicked away. Uehara Naraku slowly lowered his head and looked at Yamanaka Ino who was trembling all over. He saw a flattering smile on the face of the blonde girl. "We are very weak. There is no point in fighting with us, right? But it will give me some pleasure." Uehara Naraku squatted in front of Yamanaka Ino and whispered, "You are a girl. I must be more humble. You have the right to choose." "I choose to surrender." Yamanaka Ino raised his hands. The current Ino, Shika and Butterfly are too immature. They don't realize the meaning of their battle at all, and their strength is too weak. No. Uehara Naraku clenched his fist and placed it in front of Yamanaka Ino. I mean, you can choose whether I knock you out with my fist or my foot. Yamanaka Ino turned around and looked at Narashikamaru, who fell beside him, and Akimichi Choji, who was not far away, and lowered his head with despair and said, "Can you be gentler?" Of course. Uehara Naraku showed a kind smile. The next second, Yamanaka Ino's eyes went dark, and she lost consciousness. After a while, when Ino, Shika and Chao were lying here waiting to die, an old man finally found this place. He set up his big pot and started cooking. "What enemy did you encounter?" The old man slowly stirred the cauldron with a spoon and whispered, "Is it a ninja named Uehara Naraku?" "Yes." Narashikamaru looked at the old man meaningfully and answered directly, "He didn't kill us, nor did he take our scrolls. He just knocked us down." The old man nodded and said slowly, "It seems that, after he got all the scrolls, he was only interested in ravaging you little guys." Before, the old man had been tracking Uehara Naraku's whereabouts, but he couldn't find it. He just encountered the defeated Team 8 and the Sand Village Gara team, and now he encountered the Inoshika Chao team, and finally he was able to confirm Uehara's purpose. In short, it is to rely on his own strength to beat up newcomers for pleasure. The nature is a bit bad. The old ninja sighed and called them, "Finish this pot of food together, and you can continue with the exam." "Yes, senior." Narashikamaru nodded seriously. On the other side, Uehara Naraku got 3 skills. Many people still like the pig, deer, and butterfly trio. Side quest, defeat Akimichi Choji, 1/1, quest completed, rewarded with the skill Power Sprint. Power Sprint, shrink your body into a ball and quickly impact, greatly increasing your movement speed, lasting for 6 seconds. The skill consumes a minimum of 60 chakra points, and the skill cooldown time is 8 seconds. The moment he got this skill, Uehara Naraku decided to block it. After all, using this skill would be too damaging to his image. Side quest, defeat Yamanaka Ino, 1/1, quest completed, rewarded with the skill Hypnotic Bubble. Hypnotic Bubble, kick out a hypnotic bubble, and after hitting the enemy for 1.5 seconds, the enemy will fall into a sleeping state, which lasts for 3 seconds. If the hypnotic bubble is exhausted after the power is kicked out, and fails to hit anyone, a hypnotic area will be formed in the target area. The skill consumes a minimum of 80 chakra points, and the skill cooldown time is 10 seconds. Uehara Naraku felt numb for a while, and the probability of using this skill was estimated to be very low. After all, the possibility of him hitting was too low. Then there was only the reward for defeating Narashikamaru. Side quest, defeat Narashikamaru, 1/1, quest completed, reward skill Shadow Secret, clone. Shadow Secret, clone, release a shadow clone of yourself. Every time the main body releases a skill, the shadow clone will release the same skill. At the same time, the main body can exchange positions with the shadow clone. The skill consumes 40 chakra points and has a cooldown of 10 seconds. Uehara Naraku frowned immediately. Why does it feel a bit like the ninjutsu of Shisu? Never mind. If it weren't for the ability to exchange positions, this so-called shadow secret clone would be worse than the ordinary clone technique in the ninja world. A dark shadow stood there stupidly. If this TM was in the ninja school, it would be impossible to graduate successfully. Okay. The next step is to find Hyuga Niji. After Uehara Naraku activated the Fate skill, his face suddenly changed, because in his observation, the feast left for the last was about to be snatched away. Uehara Naraku punched the tree with hatred, and the whole person quietly disappeared from the spot. I almost forgot about that bastard Orochimaru. Don't let him get it first. I want to keep the leeks for harvesting. The 2 guys in Team 7 must not be coveted by others. If Uchiha Sasuke turned evil first under the manipulation of Orochimaru, the probability of Uzumaki Naruto turning evil must be greatly reduced. According to Uehara Naraku's guess, the reward for Naruto turning evil and becoming a rebel ninja is definitely very high. The bond of the ninja world is an outrageous existence. In the outer circle of the Death Forest, Team 7 only encountered a reconnaissance enemy along the way. Uchiha Sasuke was in a good mood after easily solving it, and his self-confidence increased a little. Uchiha Sasuke is looking for Uehara Naraku's location everywhere. After all, in order to get the information about Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke is willing to do anything. What's more, Uehara Naraku took the initiative to offer it. Uchiha Sasuke confidently said to his two teammates, "According to my guess and observation, we will head north to search for Uehara Naraku's traces and try to intercept a scroll of earth." But Sasuke-kun, Hiruno Sakura's face, was a little worried. Teacher Kakashi specifically told us not to provoke the man named Uehara Naraku for no reason. Uzumaki Naruto waved his hand and persuaded with a smile on his face, "Sakura, but it is more meaningful to challenge strong people." Naruto is right. Uchiha Sasuke rarely agreed with the opinion of the last one in the team. He crossed his fingers and said in a deep voice, "And if I want to kill Uchiha Itachi, I must get his information." That is the blood feud of genocide he carries. Since the night of genocide 4 years ago, what Uchiha Sasuke thinks about most every day and night is to kill that bastard Uchiha Itachi. The worry on Hiruno Sakura's face was still there, but the two teammates agreed, so she could only agree. "Then I hope we can find the man named Uehara Naraku as soon as possible. Sasuke-kun will definitely be able to defeat him and get what you want." "Thank you." Sasuke nodded, thanking his teammates for the first time, and Hiruno Sakura's face suddenly flushed. Just at this moment, a gloomy voice appeared around them. "Do you think you can defeat Uehara Naraku with your current appearance?" A tall and thin man emerged from the ground and appeared in front of Team 7. The man pressed down his bamboo hat, stretched out his long tongue to lick his lips, looked at the three little guys in Team 7 and said, "What a group of naive and cute little ghosts, always like to talk nonsense in their dreams. Uehara Naraku is a man that even he dare not easily defeat now." These ignorant little guys dared to challenge Uehara Naraku, which was no different from committing suicide. Rather than letting them die at the hands of Uehara Naraku, it is better to let him test the power of the Uchiha orphan first to see if he is qualified to be a container. The pair of narrow eyes under the man's bamboo hat fell into the sight of Team 7, which made people feel cold. Just the murderous aura emanating from this man made Uzumaki Naruto and the others collapse to the ground in fear. The tall and thin man frowned and looked at the performance of Team 7 with a little displeasure in his eyes. "Is it only this level? Arsehole, don't underestimate Uchiha." Uchiha Sasuke suddenly grabbed the kunai and stabbed it into his leg, so that he stood up from the fear of murderous aura and rushed towards the direction of the tall and thin man. When Team 7 and the tall and thin man just started fighting, another figure quietly landed near them. The second visitor was Uehara Naraku. Uehara looked at the tall and thin man transformed by Orochimaru ravaging Team 7 and showed impatience on his face. "Orochimaru, if you dare to ruin my good deeds, I will kill you." It is simply a fantasy for Team 7 to defeat Orochimaru now. It didn't take too long at all. Both Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto were easily defeated by Orochimaru, and even Sasuke's desperate counter-attack was just a kind of adjustment. Not bad. Double Magatama Sharingan, very handsome, and dare to resist when encountering a real strong man. After Orochimaru finished speaking, his neck suddenly stretched out, driving his head to fly in the direction of Uchiha Sasuke, and opened his mouth to bite Sasuke's neck. There was some madness in Orochimaru's voice, "But in order to avoid you going to Uehara Naraku to die, you should accept my gift obediently. If you want to use this power in your body, come to me. Remember my name. My name is Orochimaru." Snap. Orochimaru's teeth suddenly bit into a person's arm. A young man suddenly appeared beside Uchiha Sasuke and stretched out his arm to help him block Orochimaru's snake mouth. Orochimaru looked at the man's face, and there was a trace of surprise and retreat in his eyes. "Uehara Naraku, why did this guy appear here? With his strength and speed, shouldn't he be in the tower now?" Chapter 122, Uehara Naraku saves people. "I can go wherever I want." Uehara Naraku clenched his arms and punched Orochimaru's head back. He looked at Hiruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke gently and said, "Fortunately, I got here in time. Are you guys okay?" "Nothing." Uchiha Sasuke shook his head. He felt weak inside, but he looked at Uehara Naraku hard. "Why are you here?" Hiruno Sakura quickly supported Sasuke and politely nodded to Uehara Naraku to thank him. "Thank you for saving Sasuke-kun just now." "It's okay." Naraku squinted his eyes and smiled at Sasuke and said, I heard that there was a fierce battle here just now, so I wanted to come over and see. It turned out that you encountered an enemy of this level. I don't want a little genius who can help me kill Uchiha Itachi to die here. Naraku certainly didn't come to do charity, but he didn't expect that. After being bitten on his arm by Orochimaru, he also opened a new attribute template and completed a hidden task. He added a natural energy attribute. Hidden quest. Get the power of the curse seal. 1/1. Quest completed. Reward sage mode status. Long steps to God. Long steps to God. When the chakra energy and natural energy values are consistent, you can enter a new combat mode by synthesizing Senjutsu chakra. Currently the first form, frenzy mode. Uehara felt that his sage mode was not very authentic, and it was different from the sage mode in the ninja world. After all, the ninja world requires the consistency of spiritual energy, physical energy and natural energy to synthesize Senjutsu chakra to enter the sage mode. The correct formula for Senjutsu chakra should be 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. His Senjutsu chakra formula is 2 + 1 = 3. It doesn't seem to make any difference. Forget it, he is a cheat anyway. Naraku shook his head and looked down at the place where he was bitten by Orochimaru. It had turned into a sharp blade with wings, and it was also the place where he stored natural energy, a bit like a yin seal. Uehara secretly glanced at his attribute panel again. The current natural energy was full, and he had to slowly absorb it after using it. Life energy. 9091. Standard cage level 3000 10,000. Chakra energy. 10,145. Not within the normal standard. Natural energy. 10,145. Not within the normal standard. Life recovery. 9/2 chakra recovery. 6/2 natural energy drain. 6/2 skill cooldown reduction. 50% remaining gold coins. 44:30 after becoming a genin, Naraku's chakra increased a bit, and after eating a few bowls of Ichiraku ramen, life energy also increased by a few hundred points. As for the current high increase in gold coins, it was rewarded from a bunch of ordinary small tasks in Konoha. Damn, I regret it a little bit. Konoha's opening is a chosen one. Naraku sighed. The most important thing now is to solve the troubles of Orochimaru and Team 7. After Sasuke was saved by Naraku, he felt a little ashamed and awkward, and couldn't help but snorted coldly. Naraku didn't care about Sasuke's attitude. He just looked up at Orochimaru and smiled. Uchiha Sasuke, if you can't even defeat Orochimaru easily, you are still far from Uchiha Itachi. What did you say? Uchiha Sasuke certainly couldn't stand this kind of stimulation, and said coldly, I will definitely kill that man. Hiruno Sakura raised her head and looked at Naraku in confusion and said, wait, do you know this person named Orochimaru? Well, Orochimaru was once listed as one of the legendary 3 ninjas of Konoha, and now he is also one of the 3S level Konoha rebels in the ninja world. The smile on Naraku's face became even more intense, and he continued softly, I have to mention that Orochimaru is the weakest rebel ninja of Konoha. This guy's a waste who was defeated by Uchiha Itachi with just a glance. Hearing what Naraku said, Uchiha Sasuke was shocked and turned to look at Orochimaru. He couldn't believe that Orochimaru, who had just ravaged their Team 7, was defeated by a look from Uchiha Itachi. The gap between them was too big. Orochimaru heard Naraku's ridicule of him, but he didn't seem to care about it. It was normal for ninjas like them to have mutual support and mutual restraint. Orochimaru felt that Uchiha Itachi seemed to restrain him very much. Orochimaru tore off his fake face bit by bit, revealing a sharp face. He slowly said, Naraku-kun, do you want to disturb my good things? I just came to save people. Naraku protected Sasuke and Hiruno Sakura behind him and chuckled. Now it seems that I can still collect a foreign debt. Orochimaru raised his head in confusion and said, what do you mean? Did this guy forget everything that happened 4 years ago? No, he didn't forget. With Orochimaru's character, he doesn't remember what he owes to anyone. This bastard must only remember what others owe him. Orochimaru. Naraku slowly closed his palms and said coldly, Orochimaru, do you need me to remind you? Asshole. Orochimaru's face suddenly changed, and he continued in a deep voice, I haven't completely studied it yet. I'll give you what you want when we meet next time. After saying that, he turned around and was about to slip away. Uehara Naraku stopped Orochimaru's action loudly and reminded him behind his back, if you dare to lie to me, I will let you swallow 1,000 senbon. No problem. Orochimaru slipped away without looking back. It is not known whether Orochimaru's no problem means swallowing 1,000 senbon or giving Uehara Naraku the 2 ritual scrolls. Uchiha Sasuke looked up at Uehara Naraku and said, you have a deal with that Orochimaru? Are you together with him? He seems to be very afraid of you. Oh, he is afraid of the ninja demigod Hanzo behind me. Uehara Naraku casually threw the blame on Hanzo again and continued, and this guy stole 2 ritual scrolls from our ninja village before. I have been tracking him and asking for the ritual scrolls he took away. This is not wrong. Orochimaru perfected the reincarnation of the living dead in the impure world reincarnation during the Akatsuki period. If he is a bit rogue, the ownership of the reincarnation of the living dead in the impure world reincarnation should belong to the Akatsuki. What's more, Orochimaru promised him 4 years ago. Uchiha Sasuke frowned and said, you have quite a few enemies. Uchiha Itachi is your enemy. Orochimaru is also your enemy. Uchiha Obito is also my enemy. After Uehara Naraku helped him add, he chuckled and continued, what a coincidence. The 3S level rebel ninjas in your Konoha all have a grudge against me. I'm looking forward to your help in killing those 2 guys, Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obito. I will definitely kill Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Sasuke expressed his determination again and again. He raised his head with some curiosity and asked, do you know any information about Uchiha Obito? What kind of person is he? Uehara Naraku looked at Uchiha Sasuke with a strange look. Perhaps this little guy has been lonely for too long, and he is even interested in Uchiha Obito who suddenly appeared in the ninja world. Does Sasuke think that the fellow is his kind? Uehara Naraku made a prompt decision and cut off Uchiha Sasuke's fantasy. I can tell you a piece of news. Uchiha Obito and Uchiha Itachi killed all the villagers and defected to Konoha. What kind of person do you think he is? He is a damn bastard. Uchiha Sasuke lived up to Uehara Naraku's expectations and clenched his fists. Whether it is Uchiha Itachi or Uchiha Obito, I will never let them go. Uehara nodded, looking like a teachable child. Although Uehara hadn't heard about Uchiha Obito for a long time, it didn't stop him from continuing to make eye drops. Uehara Naraku clearly saw that the progress of his main task had increased by 1%. It seems that, as long as he carefully fooled Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, it would be very helpful for his main task. Uehara Naraku glanced at the unconscious Uzumaki Naruto, and a hint of an ambiguous smile flashed across his mouth. If someone noticed Uehara Naraku's eyes, they would find that his eyes were like a miner digging out a diamond mine. Thank you for being the helmsman and monthly ticket sponsor of this book. I knew this chapter could not be hidden. Thank you for your 10,000 point reward from Don't You Have a Nickname that can be used. Thank you for the reward from book friend 160,510,120,246,830. Thank you for the reward from JRYHS. Thank you for the reward from Ix Bizarre Adventure. Thank you for the reward from XIXI. That's it. Another book friend whose name I don't know, a grass radical, a page, and 3 traditional Chinese characters for free. Thank you for this book friend's reward. I'm uneducated again. Thank you for the reward from reading the name of the characters in reverse. Thank you for the reward from Life Don't Ask the Original Intention. Thank you for the reward from Ramaz. Thank you for the reward from God's Feather Knight. Thank you for the reward from One Leaf Zero Green Grass. Thank you for the reward from Don't Know 0678. Thank you for the reward from South Going 3 miles. Thank you for the reward from Let's Eat Together Baby. No, I've eaten. Thank you for the reward from Kinshang Gayashi. Thanks to Kano1 for the reward. Thanks to book friend 161,201,091,943,334 for the reward. Thanks to book friend 201801081758437115 for the reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123. What are you doing? I want to learn. Naraku Uehara has a good relationship with Team 7. Because Uehara saved them from Orochimaru, and also helped Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto with their treatment. Although Uehara was arrogant before, Team 7 now feels that Naraku Uehara is a very kind person. Sure enough, sometimes we have to look through the phenomenon to see the essence. I didn't expect you to know medical ninjutsu. Uchiha Sasuke watched Naraku Uehara helping Uzumaki Naruto with his treatment, and couldn't help but said, I remember that medical ninjas must be protected by combat ninjas, right? Where are your two companions? Why aren't they with you? When saying these words, Sasuke's heart suddenly became alert again. What if Naraku Uehara and his teammates attack their Team 7? Don't worry, I've arranged for them to go somewhere else. Uehara Naraku waved his hand, patted his ninja tool bag, and said softly, and I have collected all the scrolls of heaven and earth. I will not have any intentions towards you. I will only help you, because you are Kakashi's disciples. Oh, do you have a scroll on you? Uchiha Sasuke, who had just been cured, instantly rekindled his fighting spirit. Why don't we add one more clause to our agreement? As long as I defeat you, in addition to the information about Itachi, you must also give us the scroll in your hand. Hiruno Sakura looked up with a puzzled look. Sasuke-kun. Even though Hiruno Sakura is a weak genin, she can feel that Uehara Naraku is very strong, based on what happened before. How could Sasuke be an opponent of a ninja that even Orochimaru has to retreat from? Not bad. Uehara Naraku narrowed his eyes and smiled. I'm very optimistic about you. Even if you know you are not your opponent, you must have a heart that never gives up. I believe that sooner or later you will defeat Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obito. Uchiha Sasuke heard Uehara's praise and said proudly, Humph, in fact, I know that my strength is not enough, but now I also want you to tell me how much gap there is between me and Uchiha Itachi. After Uehara Naraku treated Uzumaki Naruto, he stretched out two fingers and gestured, although we haven't fought yet, the gap between you two must be 7 or 8 Kakashis, right? Uchiha Sasuke was full of question marks. Where did this unit of measurement come from? Well, it's too late today. Uehara Naraku glanced at the sky and said softly, you guys take a rest here. I'll go catch some fish for dinner. Ah, you're too tired, aren't you? Hiruno Sakura looked up at Uehara Naraku in surprise and said, why don't I go catch the fish? After all, I can't do anything special, and you have helped us so much, and you also helped Sasuke and Naruto with their treatment. Uchiha Sasuke's eyes flickered. He did not volunteer to take over the job of catching fish. After all, Uzumaki Naruto and Hiruno Sakura have no fighting power now. He has to stay to protect his teammates. In fact, the most suitable person to go fishing now is Uzumaki Naruto. No need. Uehara Naraku waved his hand and chuckled. I will be back soon. By the way, I will go to see if there are any enemies around. In case Orochimaru is still nearby, you will be in danger if you meet him. After that, he left here without waiting for Hiruno Sakura to refuse. After Uehara Naraku left, Uchiha Sasuke slowly breathed a sigh of relief and said in a deep voice, I originally thought that guy was here to steal our scrolls or have some conspiracy, but now it seems that he really wants to help us. Maybe it's because of Kakashi teacher? Hiruno Sakura thought for a while and said softly, my feeling tells me that Kakashi teacher should have a good relationship with him. Maybe it's because of Kakashi teacher that he will help us. There is such a possibility. Uchiha Sasuke nodded and continued, but we must never let our guard down. In this forest, everyone is our enemy. Team 7 is still rational. It's not that they didn't think about the current Uehara Naraku who has been acting crazy to them, but some kindness released can easily erode their attitude slowly. Who would refuse a person's kindness? Even Uchiha Sasuke was embarrassed to refuse. As for Uzumaki Naruto who was sleeping on the ground, this guy's actually a hot-blooded idiot. As long as someone shows kindness to him, Naruto will almost believe it now. After all, apart from Team 7, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shikamaru, Choji, Hinata Hyuga and others, Uzumaki Naruto hasn't seen many people treat him well. Dusk is coming. The sun is setting. Everything is as expected by Uehara and Naraku. Orochimaru is still lurking near Team 7 because he has set his eyes on Sasuke's body. Although Uchiha Sasuke's strength and talent are still a little behind Uchiha Itachi, it is Orochimaru's best chance to get the Sharingan bloodline. However, when Orochimaru saw Uehara and Naraku leave, he didn't care about his face as a Konoha Sannin and wanted to secretly launch another surprise attack on Team 7. Orochimaru still wanted to plant the Heaven's Curse seal on Sasuke. A long snake suddenly jumped out, opened its mouth and bit Orochimaru, and stopped Orochimaru from attacking Sasuke. Orochimaru's face changed slightly, and he grabbed the long snake with one hand, and also pulled out the person who controlled the long snake to attack him. After he saw who was coming, he smiled. Red Bean, are you still using the ninjutsu I taught you? It's you, Orochimaru. Mitarashi Red Bean flew to the side of Orochimaru, pushed him to the side of a tree, and tightly restrained his movements. No matter how far away, I can smell your scent. At this moment, the smile on Red Bean's face was no longer there. At this moment, this female ninja who likes to run around Konoha with a 3-colored ball in her mouth looked at her old teacher. Her face was extremely complicated and painful. Just when Orochimaru wanted to say something teasing, Mitarashi Anko suddenly stabbed a kunai into Orochimaru's and her palms. Orochimaru, I will never let you escape this time. Lend me your left hand. Do you want to use the ninjutsu I taught you to kill both of us? You are my disciple. Why can't you ever get rid of this impulsive habit? The Orochimaru in front of him suddenly turned into a ball of mud and disappeared. Another Orochimaru appeared quietly, looking at Mitarashi Anko with a horrified face, stretched out his palm, and stroked her cheek. Are you sad? Are you sad that I abandoned you? Mitarashi Anko's face was extremely gloomy and complicated. Anko really hated this teacher for defecting and leaving her alone in Konoha, facing the pointing eyes of others, making her life extremely painful. Ahem. A young ninja stood above Orochimaru and Mitarashi Anko, looking down at Orochimaru's somewhat intimate actions towards Anko, and couldn't help but say, Master-disciple love? The tragic love between an S-rank rebel ninja and his little apprentice? Teach me, I want to learn it too. Uehara Naraku. Orochimaru's face changed. Why is this bastard still haunting him? When she saw that there were other people, the dejection on Mitarashi Anko's face instantly faded. She covered the painful curse seal on the back of her neck and suddenly distanced herself from Orochimaru. She must have her own persistence as a Konoha ninja. What's more, she is the chief examiner of this Chunin exam. Shouldn't I be here? Uehara Naraku looked at Mitarashi Anko, chuckled and continued. It turns out that our chief examiner has this close relationship with Konoha's S-rank rebel Orochimaru. No wonder he was able to sneak into this exam and attack us genin. Don't talk nonsense. Mitarashi Anko raised her head coldly and looked at Uehara Naraku and said in a cold voice, Idiot, it's very dangerous here. You should leave here quickly. I can't protect you. Wait. You are just a Yugakure genin. How do you know Orochimaru? When Mitarashi Anko remembered that Orochimaru called out Uehara's name, she reacted completely and turned to look at Orochimaru. She saw that her former teacher looked at the Yugakure genin who had just come out with a gloomy and vigilant face. Who is this hot-blooded idiot who was at the gathering point just now? Another chapter is gone. Thank you 00 for the reward. Thank you Gaolashiji for the reward. Thank you Huangshi and Pingfansish for the reward. Thanks to Kang Xianke for the reward. Thanks to King Feng Duhuan for the reward. Thanks to UZHIZ for the reward. Thanks to YJ80UO for the reward. Thanks to the big guys for the reward. And thanks to the book friends for their support. Come on. Chapter 124. Will anyone surrender between life and death? Mitarashi Anko raised her eyebrows. She should be the weakest party now, but she asked first, Orochimaru, do you know this guy? Still so stupid. Anko. Orochimaru answered irrelevantly, just glanced at Uehara Naraku coldly, then looked at Mitarashi Anko, and a cruel smile flashed across his face. I'm very glad that I abandoned you, a fool. After so long, you haven't changed at all. I finally realized that some people's stupidity is hopeless. Arsehole. Mitarashi Anko was furious. Uehara Naraku flew to Mitarashi Anko's side, suddenly strangled Mitarashi Anko's movements, and pushed the woman behind him. Uehara Naraku felt that Orochimaru's words were a bit tricky. Looking at Orochimaru's treatment of people, he rarely launched personal attacks on the weak. This kind of behavior of deliberately angering Mitarashi Anko seems to be unlikely to happen. Uehara Naraku touched his chin and chuckled. Orochimaru, do you really hate our examiner? Such a cute girl is rare. But she is so stupid. The smile on Orochimaru's face became colder and colder. He actually put you, me and that old man Meruboshi Kosuke into the forest of death. Yeah, it's totally wrong. Uehara Naraku nodded, patted Mitarashi Anko, who was unable to resist the curse seal next to him, and said softly, it's okay for me, but I'm a person who wants to become a chunin. But that old man and Orochimaru are not here to pass the chunin exam. They have a conspiracy. Mitarashi Anko's forehead twitched, and she looked at Uehara Naraku with gritted teeth and said, who the hell are you? An ordinary Yuga Kure genin. After introducing himself, Uehara Naraku squinted and smiled. Okay, examiner, you leave here first. I will help you deal with this Orochimaru. Uehara Naraku looked at Mitarashi Anko and saw that she didn't seem to want to leave. He glanced at Anko's neck and said, you don't have much fighting power. If you stay here, your strength is still so poor. Why don't you help me to ask the third Hokage and Kakashi for reinforcement? Both the third Hokage and Hatake Kakashi knew a little bit about Uehara Naraku and thought that he was a genius of Yuga Kure who had a good impression of Konoha. Mitarashi Anko obviously didn't believe it, but she really couldn't exert any power now, and staying here would just wait for death. Uehara Naraku patted Anko's shoulder, and a green light entered Anko's body from his palm. This is the treatment and chakra recovery of star infusion. According to Uehara Naraku's chakra and life energy, 10% of the amount is almost enough to fill Mitarashi Anko's body. Uehara chose to treat Anko, on the one hand to improve his favorability, and on the other hand, to let Mitarashi Anko say a few more nice words for him. This kind of chakra. Mitarashi Anko felt the chakra in her body. Her face was both surprised and happy, and she used the chakra to suppress the power of the curse seal again. Mitarashi Anko's eyes instantly became firm, and she turned to look at Orochimaru and said, hey, I'm not leaving. I must kill Orochimaru. Uehara Naraku. Damn, this Anko is a hot-blooded idiot. Orochimaru's expression was a little ugly, but his expression soon became calm again. He quietly raised two fingers, and a giant yellow snake suddenly appeared, holding Mitarashi Anko and swimming away. Uehara Naraku had a meaningful smile on his face. He stared at Orochimaru and said, Orochimaru, are you afraid that I will kill her? Orochimaru chuckled and asked back, didn't Naraku just help her heal? What if I want to kill her? But at this moment, Orochimaru felt that his thoughts were seen through. Uehara Naraku touched his chin and skipped the topic of Mitarashi Anko. Okay, let's not talk about that woman. I'm here to warn you. I won't interfere with what you want to do in Konoha, but don't disturb my chunin exam. Naraku-kun. Orochimaru's expression gradually became a little dangerous, and his fingers clenched one by one. You should know my desire for the Sharingan. You have interfered with my plan. Oh. Uehara Naraku glanced at Orochimaru in confusion and said, I accidentally disrupted your plan just now. What do you want to do? Kill me? Friendly reminder, although I can't restrain you like Uchiha Itachi, I'm very good at eliminating my enemies directly at the soul level. Orochimaru. This fucking restraint is already better than Uchiha Itachi. Orochimaru began to think about whether he should study some techniques that can protect the soul. For example, he remembered that Senjutsu Biruma seemed to have left behind a forbidden technique that can imprison the soul in the body, even if the body dies. Uehara Naraku leaned against the tree trunk, looked at Orochimaru and said, Orochimaru, I have been more than tolerant enough for you. As for that little guy Sasuke, wait until I've used him. You can deal with him however you want. How long will it take? Are you in a hurry? When Uehara Naraku looked at Orochimaru, a smile suddenly appeared at the corner of his mouth. Oh, I see. You want to use the living corpse reincarnation to change your body again, right? Basically all the members of Akatsuki knew about the living corpse reincarnation that Orochimaru was researching. After all, it is a forbidden technique that can prolong people's lifespan just like Scorpion's human puppet. That's right. Orochimaru did not deny it and said in a deep voice, I need a body that suits me and allows me to exert my full strength or even go further. Uchiha Sasuke has the most advanced blood-related Sharingan in the ninja world. Naraku, if it were you, would you miss this opportunity? Indeed, I won't miss it. Uehara Naraku laughed, looked at Orochimaru and said, then what can you do? Stretch out your neck for me to chop off? I believe you will definitely not leak the information of Akatsuki and let me hunt you down to the ends of the earth, right? Orochimaru. Okay, that's it. Uehara Naraku glanced at Orochimaru, chuckled and said, pay attention to your own sense of propriety. You are just a traitor I deliberately let go. Don't think about defying the will of our Akatsuki. I don't think you will provoke an enemy that is 10 or 100 times stronger than you, right? I know. Seeing that Uehara Naraku seemed to have signs of turning against him, Orochimaru admitted his defeat without hesitation. He didn't want all his plans to be interrupted by Uehara Naraku now. The Konoha collapse plan is a core. If he wants to get Uchiha Sasuke, he must continue to be patient. Orochimaru doesn't believe that Uehara Naraku can still stay in Konoha after the Chunin exam. Ninjas are able to endure pains that ordinary people cannot endure. Uehara Naraku watched Orochimaru's figure disappear quietly, and a trace of worry flashed across his face. He was really worried that Orochimaru would turn against him, which might disrupt his plan. But in a moment, Uehara Naraku remembered that there seemed to be another person in the forest of death who could be used. Kabuto Yakushi. Uehara finally decided to take a gamble. Kabuto Yakushi is really an insignificant little chess piece now. If he can make Kabuto Yakushi his subordinate, he can use Kabuto Yakushi to guide Orochimaru, so as not to delay his plan. And by the way, he can also put in a nail. If Kabuto Yakushi refuses to agree, then just kill him. Hey, it seems that there are other ways to try. Uehara Naraku thought of his two skills, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. If he killed Kabuto Yakushi and resurrected him, and repeated the cycle several times, would Kabuto Yakushi agree? After experiencing the horror of death several times, maybe he would recognize himself. 16 more. Thank you Feng Shinao for the reward. Thank you Jitiguo for the reward. Thank you bookfriend 201707221325555196 for the reward. Thank you for the reward from Can't You Leave a Nickname? Thank you for the reward from That Year's Fierce Sorrow. Thank you for the reward from Match Who Loves Cigarettes. Thank you for the reward from The Ruthless Urging Person. Thank you Huakian for the reward. Thank you Yewuhuan for the reward. Thank you for the reward from The Drinking Panda. Thank you MMMMMSTKLKL for the reward. Thank you Yife521 for the reward. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for the reward, and thank you all the genuine book friends for their support. Your support is the motivation for me to write. Chapter 125, The Life and Death Struggle of Kabuto Yakushi. It was getting darker and darker. Kabuto Yakushi squatted under a tree to rest. With his strength, participating in this kind of Chunin exam was child's play. He had participated in the Chunin exam many times, but this time, the Chunin exam suddenly became more dangerous. Kabuto Yakushi was a little uneasy. The sound of overlapping cards appeared beside Kabuto Yakushi. Just when the alarm bells in his heart were ringing, he saw the figure of Uehara Naraku appear on the card. This is a time-space technique. Kabuto Yakushi immediately wrote down this information. Uehara Naraku also has a hand in time-space ninjutsu. He must be careful of this guy's surprise attack in the future. Kabuto Yakushi, are you willing to be my spy? Uehara Naraku didn't waste any words and spoke directly to show his power. Be loyal to me wholeheartedly, and become my nail ambushed by Orochimaru. Kabuto Yakushi thought for a while. Isn't Uehara Naraku's approach exactly the same as the purpose of Scorpion wanting to manipulate him? Fortunately, Scorpion's subconscious sand manipulation technique was cracked by Lord Orochimaru, and now he doesn't have to be controlled by Scorpion. But now that Uehara Naraku asked this, Kabuto Yakushi didn't dare to refute him face to face. Instead, he thought that he could take the opportunity to be a double agent and get information from Uehara Naraku. Thinking of this, Kabuto Yakushi's face showed a smile. Of course I'm willing. It is my honor to be Lord Naraku's spy. Uehara Naraku tilted his head and looked at Kabuto Yakushi, looked at his system panel, and suddenly threw a golden chakra light vortex at Kabuto Yakushi. It was time travel. The effect of time travel is that, as long as Kabuto Yakushi dies within 5 seconds, he will be resurrected after death. Snap. Just as Kabuto Yakushi looked at the golden light vortex on his body in surprise, Uehara Naraku broke his neck neatly. A moment later, the Yakushi Kabuto who was lying on the ground soon regained his vitality. He touched his neck and raised his head in disbelief and said, "Is this impure world reincarnation? No, my body is normal. This is resurrection." A hint of fanaticism flashed in the eyes of the Yakushi Kabuto. He raised his head and looked at Uehara Naraku and said in a trembling voice, "Lord Naraku, is this really? Have you really mastered the ninjutsu that can bring people back to life?" "Almost." Uehara Naraku frowned and interrupted the Yakushi Kabuto, waiting for his skills to cool down, and said softly, "You didn't really want to be my subordinate just now. This is a warning to you. I can let you live or die. Yes." Yakushi Kabuto immediately became much more honest. Uehara Naraku stared at him closely and said coldly, "I know you respect Orochimaru. I'll let you be my male beside Orochimaru, not to harm him, but to help him." Yakushi Kabuto looked at Uehara Naraku in confusion. Is there something wrong with his ears? A person is planting a nail next to another person. Is it to help him? Especially the relationship between Uehara Naraku and Orochimaru can't be said to be as hostile as fire and water, but at least they are enemies with hatred. How could Uehara Naraku help Orochimaru? Is this bullying him, Kabuto Yakushi, for being brainless? However, Kabuto Yakushi thought for a while and said with determination, "I believe in Lord Naraku. I will be Lord Naraku's most loyal subordinate." Well, Uehara Naraku looked at a task on his system panel, frowned slightly again, and whispered, "Wait a moment." Kabuto Yakushi's face was full of question marks. Let him wait for a while. What is he asking him to wait for? Of course, it's to wait for the time reversal skill to cool down. Uehara Naraku waited until the time reversal skill cooled down, and then put a layer of golden chakra light vortex on Kabuto Yakushi's body, and twisted Kabuto Yakushi's neck again. A moment later, Kabuto Yakushi was resurrected again. This time, Kabuto Yakushi seemed to be mentally prepared for resurrection, and he was not afraid of death, but he felt pain in his neck. The mood was a bit bad. When Kabuto Yakushi looked up at Uehara Naraku, there was more fear and shock in his eyes. He felt that, if he really refused to surrender to Uehara Naraku sincerely, he would be tortured between life and death by Uehara Naraku, right? Uehara Naraku looked at Kabuto Yakushi boredly and said softly, "Have you thought it through? If not, wait a little longer." "I have thought it through." Kabuto Yakushi looked at Uehara Naraku seriously and said in a deep voice, "I'm willing to be Lord Naraku's pawn and monitor Orochimaru's every move for you. I will never betray you." "Wait a while? Wait for what?" "Wait to die. Then wait a little longer." Uehara Naraku took another look at the task of recruiting subordinates on the system panel and continued, "While waiting for a while, let's talk for a while. Orochimaru is looking for a suitable container for reincarnation, right?" "Yes." Kabuto Yakushi did not refute, but subconsciously touched his neck. He didn't understand why Uehara Naraku didn't believe him. Uehara Naraku looked at Kabuto Yakushi's actions, and he was a little impatient. He directly explained what he meant, based on the part of the research on the rebirth of the living corpse that are left behind from the Akatsuki base. "I suspect that Orochimaru actually went the wrong way. This is not nonsense. Since Orochimaru hastily defected, all the materials he left behind in the Akatsuki base were locked in the forbidden technique room of the Hidden Rain village. Moreover, Konan and Nagato did not forbid him to learn any techniques. Uehara Naraku did see it, but he was a little confused. Kabuto Yakushi could not help but chuckle, and there was a hint of doubt in his eyes when he looked at Uehara Naraku. "With your blind operation that blew up the laboratory back then, can you understand Orochimaru's notes? Some of them are not even understandable to Kabuto Yakushi himself. What's more, the notes left by Orochimaru must be some wrong ideas. Orochimaru had long abandoned the ideas in those research notes." Thinking of this, Kabuto Yakushi's eyes flashed with a trace of admiration for Orochimaru, because Orochimaru was sure that he had perfected the rebirth of the living corpse. Moreover, Orochimaru has confirmed that his reincarnation was successful. While Kabuto Yakushi was still admiring Orochimaru, Uehara Naraku threw a golden light vortex of time reversal and stretched out his hand to break Kabuto Yakushi's neck again. The time is up. We will continue to talk when you are resurrected. A moment later. Kabuto Yakushi was not feeling well. What time is this time? Why did Uehara Naraku still refuse to believe him? He broke his neck when they didn't agree. Can he change his death method? It will leave psychological trauma. In just a few minutes, he has died 3 times. Snap. When Kabuto Yakushi was resurrected again and got up from the ground, Uehara Naraku threw a scroll on Kabuto Yakushi. Uehara Naraku looked at Yakushi Kabuto and said, "This is the body of a white Zetsu. White Zetsu is a magical creature in the ninja world. They can simulate anyone's chakra. I have conducted fusion experiments on white Zetsu in private. It should be able to be fused with any bloodline, even some powerful bloodlines." When he said this, Uehara Naraku stared at Yakushi Kabuto and whispered, "This also means that it can fuse with would release bloodline. Do you understand what I mean?" Yakushi Kabuto's breathing became tight in an instant. Although he doubted Uehara Naraku's biological science skills, what if the white Zetsu in the scroll in his hand can really fuse with any bloodline? Then it is possible to obtain any bloodline limit in the ninja world through white Zetsu, or even bloodline elimination. Don't think too much. Uehara Naraku patted his palms to let Yakushi Kabuto come back to his senses. There is a corpse of a white Zetsu inside, but you and Orochimaru can go and study it. If Orochimaru really wants to perform a corpse-free reincarnation, he can capture a white Zetsu, train it successfully, and then reincarnate it into the body of the white Zetsu, and the white Zetsu will not resist reincarnation. This method is simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It can not only solve Orochimaru's coveting of Uchiha Sasuke, but also let Orochimaru and the group of monsters of Black Zetsu and White Zetsu fight each other. As long as they fight, Uehara Naraku can quietly use Orochimaru's name to make something out of nothing, reverse the cause and effect, and expose the true face of Black Zetsu. Damn, he is really a genius behind the scenes. In the future, the update time will be fixed at 3 chapters a day, 1 chapter at 7:30 in the morning, 1 chapter at 11:30, and 1 chapter at 5:30 in the afternoon. Do you think this is okay? Let's discuss and give a suggestion. Thanks to Zonja Zingwan Sheo9 for the reward. Thanks to Bookfriend 202020905120603490 for the reward. Thanks to Yangyuan and Zuayuzizu for the reward. Thanks to Bookfriend 2020052419260087 for the reward. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.